So the Premier League champions' summer spend is now almost up to 300 million quid. Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 79 million for striker Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Ekitike is due in the UK tomorrow for a medical. Liverpool are looking for a 6-year contract. Meanwhile, Ashley Young is off to Ipswich. Wage demands were too much for Watford, apparently. Neil Warnock told us even at 40, Young is a great get for Championship Ipswich.
I think he's got better. He's been like a good bottle of wine, Ashley. I think he's got better defensively as he's got older. And I think when Kieran looks at his squad, he's losing Semi Morsi and one or two experienced lads. I think he'll need something like that. Even if he's not playing every game, I think he needs somebody like that in the dressing room.
After his 4-shot win at the Open, Scotty Scheffler is looking more and more like a future great of golf. But is he too mechanical and a bit boring?
You know, I play and wear my heart on the sleeve and stuff, and I look at him and I think, I wish I could have some of that. And I understand the points of it being boring, because a lot of sport, you get a lot of characters, a lot of emotion. Emotion makes sport. It's just a different angle, but I'm telling you, it's a very powerful way to come at it. It might not be as fun, but my goodness, it's a powerful tool.
To rugby union, where Steve Tandy has been named as the new Wales head coach. The former Neath and Ospreys flanker is leaving his role as Scotland's defence coach to sort out his home nation's woeful Test record. Tandy will be in charge of Wales until at least the 2027 World Cup in Australia, which is where the Lions are now. And late injury call-up Owen Farrell is in the team to face a Pacifica side tomorrow. Jamie George cannot wait to play with him again.
The bloke's rugby royalty. Like he goes down as one of the best ever, and this confirms that. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up putting his name in the hat for 5. The way he's going and the way he's looking, and he's been very, very impressive over the last week or so, and that competitive streak, but also physically he looks in really good way. So excited to get that back out there with him on tomorrow night. We've got live coverage of the British and Irish Lions versus First Nations and Pacifica on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT. Where this afternoon, Andy? Please tell us what's coming up.
Well, coming up over the next 3 hours, former England stars Peter Reid and Viv Anderson join us to potentially make you rich.
Yeah.
Forest Green owner Dale Vince tells us why he's putting his club on prescription, and heavyweight boxer Lawrence Okolie pops into the studio fresh from his Wembley victory at the weekend.
That's right,
Great
yeah.
victory,
it was a good victory, yeah, considering if you don't know the story behind that, be prepared to be shocked. We're also after your 40 Clipper tales. Andy wants your examples of sporting karma. And we'll bring you the latest from both the Lions and Lionesses camps this afternoon.
Well, there's all this plus the latest transfer news, Danny Kelly's weekly postcard from Ireland, and Saints supporting athlete Eamonn Thomas tells us how it felt to receive his World Championship gold medal 28 years on.
That's right. It is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs with you through until 4. And it is indeed 4 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, Paul. And, what an outpouring of love for one of our colleagues, the great Bob Bubka. I've been moved by how people have reacted to it. It's incredible, really. And we all loved Bob, didn't we? He was such a brilliant broadcaster. I enjoyed Rupert's tribute to him yesterday on Weekend Breakfast.
Well, if you haven't heard the news yet, our friend and golf career passed away.
Radio is about voices, and there is no doubt when you heard Bob Bubka speak, it just grabbed you.
What a performance What a player. What a championship.
His distinctive American tones enthralled and entertained talkSPORT listeners for over 25 years.
Birdie putt comes up just 2 inches shy, but he's going to walk up and tap it in. Congratulations to Brooks Koepka. He wins his 3rd major in his last 7 attempts.
In later years, Bob's health made it difficult to travel, and his last Open in situ was at St Andrews. He loved being there, and the relish which he drove his motorised wheelchair around the city was fantastic. But what he also loved was the interaction with talkSPORT listeners. And I know in the end, being part of the talkSPORT family was so important to him as he struggled with ill health. But even when physically frail, that voice never faltered. Covering the majors will never be the same without that extraordinary voice drawing us in to the magnificent sport of golf. Bob, we'll miss you.
Yeah, well said, Rupert.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke to Bob on the show probably about 2 months ago, and he sounded, by his standards, physically frail. But as Rupert said, the voice was still, the voice hadn't changed, that hadn't diminished.
We'd always get him on, like today we'd have him on, wouldn't we, for a post-tournament analysis. He was brilliant at that. His love of the Masters and golf's traditions, and you could have fun with him too about the pimento cheese sandwich.
Pimento cheese, just $1.50. He loved it.
He loved that sandwich.
He did.
And he had a way, I know you were talking about this yesterday, of segueing from what we'd been talking about into his first line of golf. I heard you talking about whatever it was, and one man suffering on the course or whatever. He'd sort of be able to transport us from that to that. He was brilliant at that.
It clearly was a technique he'd picked up over in the States. Listen to what's being said, come in on that conversation and drive it on. He was full of little techniques like that. And he was much loved by the players as well. That was very noticeable. When he was, as Rupert just said there, he was in a kind of motorised wheelchair towards the end and getting around in the buggy, and players were coming to him. There was a case where he couldn't get to Tiger, so Tiger knew he was there and came to him and did the interview with him. So he was well respected in the game of golf.
He certainly was. And also, we were chatting about him earlier, and Ben Fletcher made a good point about how generous Bob was. About, you could ask him the most stupid question or duff, and he'd say, "Great question, Andy," or "Great question, Ben." He was very generous in that way.
I only discovered yesterday how he became involved in talkSPORT, which was very interesting.
Very interesting, definitely.
Paul Breen-Turner, our former Drive Time presenter, along with Rodney Marsh, and a long time contributor to talkSPORT, really throughout Bob's years, as you're about to discover, worked at a golf tournament with him in the very late 90s, and PBT joins us now. Hello, Paul.
Paul, Andy. I wish it was happier circumstances, but privileged to be able to pay tribute to Bob here today with you.
Your story was a good one.
It was very interesting.
It touched on that way that Bob had. You were not really a golf writer. You were covering a golf tournament in Spain, and maybe he picked up on that, and he kind of took you under his wing and helped you out during that tournament, didn't he?
More than that, guys, he saved my bacon. At the time, I was commentating on the world feed on La Liga, and I stupidly accepted a job offer from Asia to cover the American Express World Golf Championships, not knowing anything about golf, being a 22 handicapper, and I arrived at Valderrama, which is about 20 minutes from Alcadesa Marina, where I am by Gibraltar now, and I still remember walking into the media centre, and my heart sank, and I thought, I've made a terrible mistake here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm going to be able to report on this. And you guys have been to media centres at golf events. There's no doors separating. There's just a little dividing sort of partition from commentators. And there was a big voice I could hear, and my heart even sank more, and a brilliant delivery. And this guy said, Bubka, Valderrama, Spain. And I thought, how am I going to follow that? A giant of a man got up, and he put out a paw that was as big as a bear's paw, and he shook hands. He said, I'm Bob. And I said, well, I'm Paul. I'm in a bit of a mess, Bob. And he said, I told him the story. He said, when are you on? I said, about an hour. He said, okay, let's get to work. And he sat with me for 45 minutes, guys, and he showed me how the computers work, the laptops, the course guide, the leaderboard, player information, hole information, everything. And he said, this is what you should do. This is what you shouldn't do. I'll sit with you, he said, for the first link you do with Asia. And if you get into trouble, just throw to me. And so, sure enough, That's what happened. I did the little bit as he explained, and I said, I got Bob Bubka next to me, and he came in with his mega professional delivery, and Asia were delighted, and the rest was history. So he really saved bacon.
Yeah, and it left such an effect on you. You knew the hierarchy here, and you came in and you said to them, look, I've been working with this guy, and he's brilliant on golf. And you did the station such a service.
You did.
Because, I mean, I mentioned to Ben Fletcher and Perry yesterday when I popped on the show briefly to pay tribute to Bob that, you know, there was a time, when you look at the incredible weekend of sport we just had on talkSPORT, that wasn't always the case. It was a bit more seat of the pants, Paul, as you remember in the very early days of talkSPORT. But immediately Bob coming in gave our golf coverage personality and credibility straight away. And I think they helped establish talkSPORT and to start to be taken seriously to where we're at now. He was so key to that, Paul.
And I heard in your build-up you were saying, you use words like generous. Well, you've heard the story of how he helped me. And not only that, he was always the guy who would give you, hey, I got an exclusive interview with Tiger Woods. I've cut my voice out so you can use it. I mean, how many reporters do that? They all keep it for themselves because they're worried about losing their job to someone like Bob. But Bob was the best. He was just an amazing character. And if you had the chance to have a whiskey with him, he liked a scotch on the rocks. And if you had a chance to be in his company, some of the stories, I remember he said, you know what, Paul, I was in hospital, phone went, I didn't like the look of the number. I answered it, I took a chance, it was Tiger Woods. I said, what did he want, Bob? He said, just checking I was okay.
That's great. I tell you one thing that I remember, and this was a different thing from Bob, but our first show after 9/11, which was an incredibly difficult show to do.
Sure.
You know, obviously, we couldn't do anything humorous or funny, and we just needed people to be able to talk and be able to get through the 3 hours. And I remember Bob coming on from New York and being absolutely wonderful, you know, and helping us and extraordinary. And that was in his very early part of his talkSPORT life. Yeah. But I remember that distinct. I was thinking about that yesterday.
Yeah, he was, and as we said, we spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and I think you could tell he was struggling. And I think he was sort of defined by the work. He loved golf and he loved broadcasting. And I think, you know, maybe he was starting to feel that he couldn't fulfill that anymore. And that was very sad. But, I mean, as we said, the quality of the voice, the enthusiasm for the game and for broadcasting sort of never diminished, I don't think.
Well, he was the John Wayne of golf broadcasting, wasn't he? I mean, what a voice. Larger than life character. A lot of people have asked me, what was he like away from the microphone? You described it well, generous, kind, enthusiastic. He loved meeting talkSPORT listeners in the UK because I remember talking, I think it was Bill Ridley or Mike Parry in the program controlling section at talkSPORT all those years ago. And they said, what, an American? We don't want an American on our station talking about golf. That's not going to work. And I said, trust me, this guy is amazing. You need at least to speak to him. Yeah. And I'm so glad they did because he's brought so much joy. And even people who didn't like golf, you know, when Bob came onto your show, and he loved you guys to bits, you know, when he came on your show, people would stop and listen because he made it interesting and he always had a little quirky story. He was just an icon of broadcasting golf, you know. And
that was that was very much the feedback yesterday from people across the board.
He was loved by the listeners too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so.
Well, look, Paul, thank you, Paul. Thank you for bringing him on board. We had all those great years with him, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, all the best, guys.
There we are. There's Paul Breen-Turner, the man instrumental in Bob Bubka being a voice on talkSPORT.
And he's mentioned his relationship with Tiger Woods, and there are two words from the great Tiger Woods that sum up, I think, how we all felt about Bob. Do you want to hear them?
Yeah. We haven't got them.
I thought we had them.
No.
I beg your pardon.
You didn't double check, did you? You can do them.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thanks, Bobby. He signed off all of his interviews with Bob like that.
Tremendous.
We will miss our chats with Bob, and I'm sure you'll miss listening to him at all the events and when he popped up all over the network. But it was great working with him over the years. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT, and we're going to be chatting to Peter Reid and Viv Anderson very shortly. They're up at the National Football Museum in Manchester. It's a launch. It's a year-long rollout of a massive football auction with some incredible lots in it. I mean, top-end lots. And they're going to be calling upon you to maybe go up into the loft, and you may have some gold up there, some footballing gold, and not even realise it. But
Not Peter Reid's hubcaps.
No, hubcaps.
Was it hubcaps and wheel nuts, wasn't it? What was it?
No, you're getting no.
It was somebody else's.
Yeah, it was somebody. You're on fire today.
Oh, don't worry about it. It was me last week. I'm turning into Count Arthur Strong. Last week I called State of Origin State of the Union.
Yes.
And Robin Cousins, I called him Robin Counts. I called him Robin Cousins. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's fantastic.
Count Arthur Jacobs.
Yes.
Anyway, we're here with the good friends at Tool Station, delivering in as little as 30 minutes with Fast Track. Next stop, Tool Station.
John.
A couple of the greats there, of course, and we're playing that because there is an auction coming up. It's in a year's time around the World Cup, and Grand Bud auctions. We often speak to the guys from Grand Bud because they get some incredible lots, but this is surpassing anything really, and they're still looking for lots as well, and that could be you in your loft. In your basement, you may have some gold there you don't realise. Peter Shilton's shirt in that infamous Hand of God game, that's going to be going under the hammer. Pele's 1958 World Cup winners medal, which could be valued up to £500,000. All manner of other stuff. Joining us now to tell us more, two fine England players, Viv Anderson and Peter Reid. Good afternoon, fellas.
How are you, chaps?
Afternoon.
Yeah, we're not so
good,
bad. Have they got any of your stuff in there or not?
No, I did some stuff early on in the year, bits and bobs. So nothing as prestigious as these.
No. What about you, Peter? Have you kept all of your memorabilia?
I have, yes. I've got the shirt I played in, or I was there in 86. The game started. That's before you two said anything. I had to get that in early. Yeah, I've still got that shirt and most of me old shirts when I was at Everton. I think I only swapped one shirt, and that was when we played Brazil at Wembley.
Oh, right.
And don't ask me who I swapped with.
Yeah.
We didn't do it in them days.
No.
We didn't swap.
No.
Only Steve Hodge was my roommate.
Yes, which
wow.
was a prestigious one, and earned him a few bob.
Yeah.
Not much, yeah. He got, I mean...
Because famously, didn't it, Alf Ramsey in 66... forbade the England players from swapping shirts
against Argentina.
There's that famous picture where he's wrestling the shirt back. I can't remember, was it George Cohn or Ray Wilson?
Rattan, wasn't it? And something that was that was it. Yeah.
Amazing. Peter,
you get a mention from Maradona when he did that interview with Gary Lineker years ago and talked about the hand of God game. He says I could see Peter Reid and he wanted to kick me and I could see like the veins on his neck sticking, but he couldn't quite reach me, couldn't quite wrap a leg round me. Do you remember that?
I do, yeah, I do. And
we all do.
I'm reminded quite often.
Every time we meet.
But I met Diego a couple of times afterwards, and through an interpreter, I called him a cheating twit. And to his interpreter, he went, "Peter, you very, very slow." So he battered me again, but he cheated, didn't he, the first one, and but the second one was I got a good view of it, to be fair, lads.
Yeah, a ringside seat. Schultz has never been. I mean, I've talked to him about this. He's never forgiven Maradona, Viv, as he probably told you a lot about it. But he's still smarting all these years on.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what he's like. And which is an important part for me is Steve Hodge meant to play the ball back. He didn't. At the time, I was at the back end of the goal, and I thought he'd miscued it and it'd gone up in the air. But Steve Hodge says to me years later that he meant the back pass as well. So he'd think Schultz would just come out and catch it, and then obviously Maradona jumped in and scored with his hand. But but every time about 2 weeks after the fight, the game, we go back pre-season. The first thing we said to him, "You should have knocked his head off."
That's probably true.
I was after the game. I'm in my room, lying there, obviously devastated, waiting to go for a bevy because we hadn't had a drink for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And my roommate said to me, "What about this then?" Steve Hodge showed me the number 10 shirt. I can't tell you on air what I said. £7.4 million later. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that was it. Was a wise move. So, fellas, this is there's a possibility, as we said, that some of the listeners may have something that could feature in this auction next year and not realise this could be worth a few quid. So they should have a hunt round, shouldn't they?
Oh, definitely, yes. Yeah, I've seen the reserve prices and some of these stuff, and we think they should go for a lot more. So, be interesting auction when it comes around this time next year.
Yeah.
Besides Schultz's shirt, there's a number 7 red shirt of Alan Ball's from the World Cup in '66.
Wow.
I think even back then he was the best player on the pitch that day, and he was obviously. I got to know Alan. What a player he was, by the way, and what a man. So that'll be worth a fortune. That, without a doubt.
You would have thought so. Yeah.
They're thinking about £200,000, and Pele's 1958 winners medal. They're saying could go for up to $500,000 potentially. Amazing. But what an iconic thing to own.
And what's interesting, I think, in the days when players didn't get paid what they get now, the memorabilia market has been quite important for a lot of players, isn't it? And they don't want them to sell their medals. It's not a great ideal thing to do, but at least it has provided some sort of pension for players, I think.
Yeah, it's worked out that way. Yeah, as you say, they don't earn, you know, £300,000 and £400,000 a week as they do now. So yeah, so it's a way of get. Mine was for my son was getting married, so I thought I didn't sell it all. I just sold bits of it to help him through his wedding. So that's why I did mine. But as you say, some people want to do whatever they can.
What the money you've got?
Yeah.
Peter, tell us a bit about Bramley Moor Dock, the new ground. It looks fantastic.
I did, been down a couple of times. As sad it is to leave Goodison Park, the new stadium, Hill Dickinson Stadium, I think it's called, is absolutely brilliant. And funny enough, the Roma friendly game, I think me and Capello were doing a Legends game afterwards, so I'm really excited to be manager of that. But it's sensational, right on the Mersey. Great, it's iconic situation. But the atmosphere this stadium will generate will be brilliant for Evertonians. But like we all say, Evertonians, we need a team challenging. That's the main play.
But you do sense there's a bit more optimism now. There's a bit of money in the club. The new ground, you kind of feel like David Moyes has got his feet under the table now.
Yeah, and some of the things he said towards the end of last season were encouraging. I think we can do a Forest.
Probably going into this season more optimistic and upbeat than usual, I'd say, Evertonians.
I think it's important they signed Banthwaite as well. He was talking going to different places and this, that, and the other. They managed to keep him, and I think he's the next one on the block to be a successful team. So it was important they got his signature on a contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think most Evertonians are just waiting to see who David brings in, and he's usually very, very good in the transfer market. So there is a lot of optimism on Merseyside from the Blue Half anyway.
Yeah. How are you feeling about Forest, Viv, at the moment? We got this Morgan Gibbs-White stuff. He played the friendly the other day. I don't know what's going to happen there, but not ideal prep for the season, is it?
It's going to lead. That's what's going to happen.
It's not ideal, as you say, but it'd be important. You need to keep your best players. Yeah. You know, you've lost them already to Newcastle, so it's important that we keep Gibbs-White. Definitely. I saw today in the paper they put 2 new players in. Don't know what positions they are, don't know what they do, but Gibbs-White is a really important part of last season as well. But be interested to see who they do bring in, but it's important to keep Gibbs-White for me.
Peter, finally, a few of the listeners getting in touch, Sam, will you be putting a pair of your iconic bell bottoms into the sale next year? They're causing quite a stir.
He's been slaughtered by me already today.
It's like Wigan Casino. It's fantastic. I love them.
It's in the 70s. That's his problem.
Listen to George O'Mahony here. I
haven't got the bell bottoms.
Not wrong with getting back to your youth.
Oh, yeah. God. It's 74.
Well, it's how you feel, lads. No, they have I got these. I quite like him today, you know what I mean? When it's hot weather, instead of wearing shorts because I've got bandy legs and my knees are not great, right. I've got into this. Why not?
Got in the old pair of Lionels. Fantastic.
Good.
Fellas, lovely to see you as always. All the best. Thanks very much.
Cheers, boys. Take care. Thank you.
There's Peter Reid and Viv Anderson. Yeah, maybe I think they can twist up Pete's arm and get him a pair of those bell bottoms.
That's a good idea.
So, go and check out Ground Bud Auctions, Bud's World Cup 2026 auction. And if you have got lots, let them know. If you feel like there could be something there that could be worth money. Got Martin Peters' spare shirt from that game, that number 16 spare shirt.
Even things like ticket stubs, haven't they?
A complete set of ticket stubs from every game at the 1966 World Cup. I think it could be £10,000 there. Peter Shilton's shirts and other items as well. Ground Bud Auctions. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. We're going to have a chat with Troy Deeney in a few moments' time. And then we're going to talk rugby. We've got Lionesses. Lawrence Okolie's popping in. One at the weekend in tough old circumstances, as I'll explain when he joins us in the studio in the next hour.
So the Premier League champions' summer spend is now almost up to 300 million quid. Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 79 million for striker Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Ekitike is due in the UK tomorrow for a medical. Liverpool are looking for a 6-year contract. Meanwhile, Ashley Young is off to Ipswich. Wage demands were too much for Watford, apparently. Neil Warnock told us even at 40, Young is a great get for Championship Ipswich.
To be fair, I think he's got better. He's been like a good bottle of wine, Ashley. I think he's got better defensively as he's got older.
To Rugby Union, where Steve Tandy has been named as the new Wales head coach. The former Neath and Ospreys flanker is leaving his role as Scotland's defence coach to sort out his home nation's woeful Test record. Tandy will be in charge of Wales until at least the 2027 World Cup in Australia, which is where the Lions are now. And late injury call-up Owen Farrell is in the team to face a Pacifica side tomorrow. Jamie George cannot wait to play with him again.
The bloke's rugby royalty. Like he goes down as one of the best ever, and this confirms that. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up putting his name in the hat for 5. The way he's going and the way he's looking, and he's been very, very impressive over the last week or so, and that competitive streak, but also physically he looks in really good way.
We've got live coverage of the British and Irish Lions versus First Nations and Pacifica on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
It's all eyes on Brisbane. Here we go, Test match series up and running. The Lions kick off.
The first half performance in general was pretty good by all, really.
Russell with a big ball into midfield. To Ipalaku! Gliding to the right-hand side. The first try of the first Test.
Maybe the most telling statistic of the first half. The Wallabies got into the Lions 22 once.
Jorgensen will take it out to the air, and Jorgensen scores in the right corner.
The Lions should win. They should have won this. They should have won by 30 points. Tonight, the Lions showed a lot of confidence, and they finished the job.
Hugh Jones combines with Tom Curry. Curry to Dan Sheehan. Try right at the start of the second half. Minute and 15 seconds. Dan Sheehan.
I was a bit disappointed with the Lions in the second half. They almost just looked comfortable, and they let the Wallabies back into the game.
It's going to be McDermott. Picks it, goes round the edge and score. Just have that little bit of momentum, the Wallabies.
The Lions have won the first Test match. Full-time Australia 19, British and Irish Lions 27.
Yes, we're going to reflect on the game very shortly with Topsy OG. A little bit of breaking news from the world of sport. And Josh Taylor, former undisputed world champion boxer, has had to retire from the fight game. He just issued a statement. It's medical advice, he says. He's had eye surgery and has been struggling, and says not an easy post to write, but he's had to retire from the world of boxing. We're going to be joined by Lawrence Okolie a little bit later on, and after that Jose Ramirez fight, when he won all the belts, he came into the studio to see us, and it was top of the world at the time, and it's very sad that only a couple of years on he's having to call it a day. But yeah, Josh Taylor retiring from boxing. Let's hear from Owen Farrell. He was chatting to talkSPORT after being named captain for the game with the First Nations and Pacifica 15 tomorrow. Live on talkSPORT 2, he was asked how he felt.
No, hopefully brilliant, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a great opportunity off the back of what the boys did at the weekend to kick on and put a good performance in and keep us going in the right direction. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it for everyone and me personally, yeah.
He said some other interesting stuff, which we'll come back to, but as we said, Topsy Ojo, former England wing, joining us now. Hi, Topsy.
Afternoon, how's it going?
Not too bad, thanks. Yeah, we saw you before it all got underway, and there were one test down now. But I mean, to my untrained eye, I was watching the game, and they dominated the early parts of the game, did the Lions. And even when Australia came on strong, maybe rightly or wrongly, my lack of rugby knowledge, I always kind of felt the Lions were keeping them at arm's length. I actually never quite felt they were going to make up that ground. Was that blind, optimism, or did you sense a bit of that as well?
No, I think you're spot on, and the fact that you can say that is quite telling in terms of how the game played out. There was a clear gulf between the two sides for 50 minutes. The Lions weren't far off perfect in terms of everything they wanted to do from a physical point of view, from being able to impose their game plan. They were really, really dominant, and Australia didn't have an answer. Of course, they replied with the 50-50 kick in the air that their winger scored, but apart from that, it was all one-way traffic. And, you can talk about the different strategies in rugby and the different ways of playing the game, but ultimately there is a physical contact element to the sport that you have to match. You have to be at that level. And if you're not, it makes it a really long day. And it was for Australia. So the Lions were comfortable winners. Yes, there was a lull in the second half where substitutions came on and they became a bit sloppy, but as you touched on, they were always at arm's length, never really in real danger of ever losing that game.
That late penalty was quite important, though. If they hadn't got that, it might have been closer at the end.
Yeah, it was. And actually, that's a good way to manage the game in terms of the Lions hadn't had a lot of momentum at that point. Just to stem the tide, we'll take the penalty, we'll increase the gap to 2 scores, knowing that Australia would have to try and score 3 times to get back into it. So you do have to manage games in that way. It will ebb and flow a bit, but the Lions were clearly the better team.
Any red flags for you? Were there any concerns that going into that?
There were 3 lost lineouts in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. What do you think, Topsy?
Yeah, that would be it. I mean, the first one, there was a small injury to Joe McCarthy, the second row, so we'll see how he picks up through the week. And then, yes, the drop-off in the second half. So the lost lineouts, penalty in the scrum, some handling errors, they kind of compounded each other. So the Lions would turn over possession, then give a penalty away. So they actually allowed Australia to make easy yards to get into their 22 where they're in a position to score tries. I mean, in the first half, they only got into the Lions 22 once, which again tells you everything you need to know about where their attack was and where the Lions' defence was. Very, very strong. Second half, they made it easy for them and just gave them little crumbs of comfort to take into the second test. They would have much preferred to have won that game by 30, 40 points and almost extinguished any hope that Australia would have had coming into this second test.
Yeah, they'll have a bit of momentum now, won't they, from that second half performance, late second half performance anyway. So it's good for the series. I mean, does anybody want to see a 3-0?
No.
Walk over? I don't think people do.
I don't think I've ever watched the Lions test with that lack of jeopardy. Again, that might be my naivety, but you want a bit of edge to it. Do you expect to see any changes, Topsy? I mean, looking at the squad they've picked for tomorrow, I mean, Blair Kinghorn's back at 15, isn't he? He's involved. I mean, would you expect to see any changes for the second test?
Possibly 1 or 2. I don't think there'll be many changes because, like I said, by and large, that team performed. Yes, there was a bit of drop-off in the second half, but the guys that were sent out there to do the job in the first half, 50 minutes, performed. So, yes, Blair Kinghorn is fit, but does he come back in straight away? I don't think so. I think Hugo Keenan's earned the right to keep the spot. I know there was a lot of talk about the back rowers, Tom Curry and Ty Burn in particular, but those two were exceptional, so they absolutely start. You might rotate 1 or 2 just in terms of that game would have taken a lot out of the players, but I think the team deserves to go again. Really do. Go and finish the job that you've started. It might just be that there's bench spaces up for grabs because, that's what tomorrow will be about in terms of the guys who are coming back into contention. Can you put your hand up to get back into that 23? but I don't think there'll be too many changes.
We're banging the drum for Henry Pollock on the bench for the weekend. He's starting tomorrow. I mean, it'd be a great little wild card. It'll be entertaining. What are his chances, you think, if he plays well tomorrow?
He's in the mix, definitely. He's just got some stellar competition, and I think that's probably the most hotly contested position. Ben Earl did well coming off the bench as well. Josh van der Fleer is there, who's a former World Player of the Year, and Henry is the current breakout star. So Henry probably needs an exceptional game tomorrow to put himself into contention for this weekend, but there's every chance come the third test, especially if the Lions are 2-0 up, that he might get a run out there. I don't think he'll get the call up this weekend, but I could certainly see him making an appearance in the third test.
It's interesting. Just finally, Owen Farrell, we heard from him just now, captaining the side tomorrow, was talking about social media and the reaction there's been to him being selected and being involved in some of the games. And he said he doesn't really understand it. He said, I understand times are different, things catch fire quickly, things grow legs, take a life of their own, go wherever they go, and there's momentum behind them. He said they're talking about it takes its toll. He was asked, does he feel there's a lot of poison in what's been said? He said, I find both the positive and the negative stuff poison. I really only listen to the people that matter to me, and I try not to listen to the outside noise. But I mean, in light of what's been happening in the Lionesses camp, it's just so sad that this sort of stuff, people that they can feel freely to go on and abuse people either racially or personally or professionally is just desperately sad that continues.
Yeah, it's a really difficult world, social media, when it comes to being a professional athlete. And obviously, as we've seen with the Lionesses with Jess, it's you understand critique. Critique is part of the job. And, when the players go in and review their matches the day after, there'll be some harsh words spoken, especially when they haven't performed to the level that they expect of themselves. But when it becomes personal, when it becomes racial, when it becomes above the norm, that's when you question it and say, this is meant to be something created for good, something to connect players to the fans, to the wider, to come away from this thing and say, right, we just won't do it anymore. So, and Owen has had that. He's had that a lot through his career, and it's probably one of the reasons why he took himself to France, in terms of having a break from that, and he comes straight back into the fire. And yes, there was criticism in terms of decision, form and fitness, which is fine. That is absolutely fine. But it becomes personal with Owen a lot of the time, and it's just not fair. It's unwarranted, and we keep saying it shouldn't be happening, but nothing severe enough happens at the minute to change what's going on. And until that changes at the highest level, unfortunately, we're going to keep seeing this.
Topsy, good to talk to you. Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
No worries. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Topsy Ojo, the former England wing, now we're going to be in the Lionesses camp over in Switzerland a little bit later on. So 1-0 lead going into Saturday's game at the MCG. An incredible crowd there. They take on the Wallabies. And you can hear that blockbuster unfold live and exclusively here on talkSPORT next Saturday from our coverage starting at 10 a.m. But before that, the Lions have the small matter of a bruising encounter with the First Nations and Pacifica 15 live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow. Kick-off for that one at 11, or the build-up from 10. We've got the Lionesses in action tomorrow evening against Italy. As we said, we'll be building up to that. But Troy Deeney is going to join us very shortly. We're going to talk a little bit about Liverpool and the business they're doing. It's pretty formidable at the moment. So Troy joining us for a bit of a football chat. In a few moments' time, we're here with Toolstation. Get thousands of products delivered to you with Fast Track on the Toolstation app. Next stop, Toolstation. Now, Coldplay are back at Wembley this summer. We've got a huge VIP prize up for grabs for one lucky listener. We're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd with full hospitality. Plus, we're chucking in 10 grand spending money completely tax-free. Here is how to enter.
Yes, for a chance to win, text the word WIN to 83338 by the 4th of August at 11 p.m. and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. 18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. This is a talkSPORT limited promotions run on talkSPORT Talk and Virgin Radio UK. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
Yeah, best of luck. We're going to talk a bit of football now, and a bit of Marcus Rashford. The changes to the penalty laws, which I don't think will go down too well with Troy Deeney.
Isak's had his head turned.
That's right. Well, let's kick off, though, talking Liverpool with Troy Deeney. How are you doing, Troy?
Afternoon, gentlemen, or morning for me.
Morning for Gare. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. They are building quite a formidable side, Liverpool. Andy's saying it's not fair. We used to say that about City. I mean, City are rebuilding nicely. But I think the business Liverpool are doing, and there are a couple to go, possibly Diaz as well, they are looking pretty good, aren't they, for next season?
Yeah, I think, guys, the way it is when we look about Liverpool is that we can see that team and you can see how it's going to work and how it's going to feel and going to set up. I think when you look at City, yes, they're brought in a lot of players, but you're still kind of going, well, who's going to be the holding midfielder? Who's going to get that in when Rodri's out? Who's going to be the one that complements him? Do you know, there's a few question marks around that. Is Ederson still going to be there? All these type of questions. But, yeah, I'm actually weirdly happy that they got Etikite. I think he's an excellent player. He's someone I said Man United should have been going for last year. I thought as a young player that would be someone that they could grow and build with. I'm so glad they didn't get Isak because they'd have had the title wrapped up for the next decade.
Yeah. I mean, Kirkes is great business because he's oven ready. You haven't got to think, can he adapt to the Premier League?
No,
you great. Know he can. That's an amazing bit of business.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Andy Robertson's been great at left back. Him and Trent for, nearly a decade now have been fantastic on both those fullbacks. So many times they were crossing to each other, but I think his legs were going a little bit. And he's getting to that age where you do have to start thinking about the succession plan. I think it's great that he's still there. Hopefully they can keep him there long term, trying to compete on all fronts well. So I think he can show Kirkes what's expected when you play at fullback for Liverpool and what to expect. And there'll be times for Kirkes, although he's a wonderful player, where he has to adjust as well. He has been in the Prem, as you say, but he hasn't played for a club the size of Liverpool that's expected to win week in, week out. So I think there'll be moments where his form kind of dips, but I think that's where you still need Andy Robertson, personally.
Eddie Howe decided to send Isak home rather than have him sitting in the stands with all the focus on him for the friendly at the weekend. And Alan Pardew, the former Newcastle manager, was on yesterday saying it looks like he's had his head turned. I mean, you've probably been in a dressing room or been in situations where you've witnessed that because an offer comes in for maybe a teammate. Or what's that situation like to deal with?
It's horrible, to be totally honest, from a player's point of view, because I think Isak always looked at Newcastle as a landing spot to move on to bigger and better. If I'm being personally honest, I think there was a lot of talk when Newcastle got him about him going to Arsenal, if you remember, and would he go there and all these types of things. I think he's a young man that sees himself as exceptionally good, which he is. But I think he wants to be a huge team. And I don't want that to sound disrespectful to Newcastle because that is a massive team. But I think the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, PSG, Real Madrid, I think they're the type of teams he sees himself at. He obviously would have looked now and seen that Liverpool put a bid in. I think it was, 120 million? It wasn't chump change that they put in for him, hoping that would be close. I don't know, maybe get to 150 and we could be done. But then as soon as they put the offer in for Etikite, he's thinking, right, do I have to kick off here? Is my chance gone? What's going on? Probably has an offer from Newcastle to stay. But he'd probably be looking around, and I mean this with the greatest respect. You look at what Liverpool are signing, and you look at Elanga coming in. While I think they're good friends, and they obviously play for the national team, will be happy. It's not Wirtz, it's not Salah that he's got next to him, is it? Do you know what I mean? They're not going to be competing on that level. You look at what Chelsea are doing and how great they were in the Club World Cup. You just think, how are they going to be able to compete?
They are in the Champions League, though. There is that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And again, I think that's a minimum requirement, isn't it, for a player of that ilk, that he would expect to be in the Champions League, especially with a World Cup year. I just think it was maybe an opportunity that maybe his agent presented to him, and this is a one-off. Like, Liverpool want you, but they want to do it now.
Yeah, I mean, it's only so many clubs that can afford that kind of deal. You know, you might think, oh, could smoke somebody else out, but how many clubs in the world are going to be in the market for him? It's difficult to know.
Yeah, it's difficult to know, but also he's in a wonderful position where there's not a great depth of number 9 strikers, is there, at this moment in time? You see Arsenal are struggling. You see quite a few teams struggling to get a striker over the line, and it's probably an overinflated market anyway. 120 normally would get people out the door.
Now, Marcus Rashford's got the move he wanted to Barcelona. What do you make of that? How do you see that as a fit, Troy?
Twofold. I've been quite critical of Marcus over the time. I'm genuinely happy for him getting the move that he wants. I think Marcus is in a position now where he can't win. With somebody like me, he can't win anyway. So if he goes there, plays week in, week out, scores 40 goals, it'll be so frustrating because he's let 3 or 4 years pass him by now by not applying himself properly. Also, it's a World Cup year, so I feel like he does that anyway. If you remember, before the last World Cup was his best season as well. And then on the flip side, how's he going to be if Rafinha's starting ahead of him? I just don't know, is the honest answer. So I'm happy for him as a player. He's out of Man United. Was it? You know, you have that question, is the shirt too big at Man United? Well, it's a bloody big shirt he's going into at Barcelona as well.
He can play across the front three.
He can step in for Jamal. He could even step in for Lewandowski if he has to. Can't he? Really?
Well, just off the 2 names you just mentioned there, who's starting?
Oh well, no, he's not starting.
And that's my point, though, isn't it? So Marcus he's going into a World Cup year wanting to play, and he's probably going to be a sub for any of those 3, which is obviously great because those guys are top-class players. But I just think when you look at it, how does he keep himself focused, motivated when he's not playing? That's been the issue when you look at him for Man United. So I think Barcelona is going into a whole new pool of expectation, people looking at him. And I hope it works out for him, not only for Marcus, but also for us as English fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want the best version of Marcus Rashford, but I think he's in a no-win situation, because people like myself will be saying if he goes and does what he should do, but where's that been for the last couple of years?
Yeah. And finally, you're probably aware they're looking to tweak the laws around penalties. So when a penalty is taken, effectively, if it's saved by the keeper, it's the post, whatever, the ball is dead. The other bad news, Troy, we're hearing is they want to retrospectively take it back to the start of 2013.
Honestly, it's... Why do we keep messing with things, lad? Honestly,
I agree.
It's like it's okay. You have a penalty. The keeper tips it onto the post. It comes back to you. Ball's dead. The goal's open. Ball's dead. Like what type? Who's the guy that went? That's a clever idea. Honestly, we're spitballing between the 3 of us. Someone put that idea to us. Who went? Do you know what? Really good idea. That. Just need someone in the room with a bit of common sense that just goes, all right, mate. Shut up. Good idea. We'll put it in the box. We'll deal with it next time.
I blame Arsene Wenger, you know.
Do you blame Arsene? What do you think?
He's bored. I think he's bored. He comes out with all these mad things.
Yeah.
You're all right, Arsene. Take up gardening or something. Stop ruining football.
You're right. In that moment, the keeper saves it, the player runs in, and there is that kind of sense of anticlimax. And we've got enough of that in football because of VAR. We don't need any more things to make it anticlimactic football, do we, at the moment?
I agree. It's
and I also think as well, just quickly, because I know you've got to go to break, I just think football is chaotic. The reason we love it because it's chaos. It's 22 lads trying to beat each other, but the actual bits of football that we enjoy is chaos, is them unscripted moments. And what we're trying to do now is make it surgical and make it clinical. And it's not like that. That's not what football's all about. No. It's becoming a boring tennis sport. Pardon to tennis. I know people like tennis, but every shot with tennis, it's in or out. There's Hawkeye. There's all these different things. Now it's like the reason we got into football, or certainly I did, is because of the pub talk. It was because of the controversy. It was because of that should have been a foul that wasn't given, and we're trying to take that element out of it.
Good to talk to you, Troy. Appreciate your time. Thanks ever so much. Take care.
Cheers, lads. I'm off to a water park. Enjoy.
Have a good time. Fantastic. That's Troy joining us on his holes, which was good of him. Thanks to him. Lawrence Okolie's coming into the studio. He was second on the bill the other day at Wembley, went the distance, and we've subsequently discovered tore his bicep in the first round. I mean, that is a bad injury
for a boxer. Absolutely.
God, to get through 10 rounds. So that was impressive. We're going to have a chat with Lawrence. He's in the mix at the moment. A really interesting heavyweight division. Of course, it's only his second fight as a heavyweight. So Lawrence making a welcome return to the studio. We're around Europe with Andy Brassel, and Eamonn Thomas finally got his relay medal from the 1997 World Championships, and we'll be chatting to you a little bit later on as well. So the Premier League champions' summer spend is now almost up to 300 million quid. Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 79 million for striker Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Ekitike is due in the UK tomorrow for a medical. Liverpool are looking for a 6-year contract. Meanwhile, Ashley Young is off to Ipswich. Wage demands were too much for Watford, apparently. Neil Warnock told us even at 40, Young is a great get for Championship Ipswich.
I think he's got better. He's been like a good bottle of wine, Ashley. I think he's got better defensively as he's got older. And I think when Kieran looks at his squad, he's losing Semi Morsi and one or two experienced lads. I think he'll need something like that. Even if he's not playing every game, I think he needs somebody like that in the dressing room.
After his 4-shot win at the Open, Scotty Scheffler is looking more and more like a future great of golf. But is he too mechanical and a bit boring?
You know, I play and wear my heart on the sleeve and stuff, and I look at him and I think, I wish I could have some of that. And I understand the points of it being boring, because a lot of sport, you get a lot of characters, a lot of emotion. Emotion makes sport. It's just a different angle, but I'm telling you, it's a very powerful way to come at it. It might not be as fun, but my goodness, it's a powerful tool.
To rugby union, where Steve Tandy has been named as the new Wales head coach. The former Neath and Ospreys flanker is leaving his role as Scotland's defence coach to sort out his home nation's woeful Test record. Tandy will be in charge of Wales until at least the 2027 World Cup in Australia, which is where the Lions are now. And late injury call-up Owen Farrell is in the team to face a Pacifica side tomorrow. Jamie George cannot wait to play with him again.
The bloke's rugby royalty. Like he goes down as one of the best ever, and this confirms that. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up putting his name in the hat for 5. The way he's going and the way he's looking, and he's been very, very impressive over the last week or so, and that competitive streak, but also physically he looks in a really good way. So excited to get that back out there with him on tomorrow night.
We've got live coverage of the British and Irish Lions versus First Nations in Pacifica on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Afternoon, Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Andy Brassel, European football expert from our excellent Trans-Europe Express show every Sunday, will be joining us for a chat looking at some of the stories from around Europe. Lawrence Okolie, heavyweight boxer, popping in to see us, and Eamonn Thomas on the Team GB relay team, finally getting their medals from 1997 at the weekend in a packed London stadium. There's been developments there, so that's all to come. In the meantime, Andy, Clippers. David Beckham went viral over the weekend with a great big sort of chunk out of his head. The guard came off the Clippers.
It's very unfortunate when that happens.
And a mate of mine I'm seeing later, funny enough, Steve had the same thing. His son sort of knocked the thing off, but he went back to it. He left it in the garden. They made him knock it off. So he'd give himself the full Travis Bickle. And it can happen. You've had experience of it.
Yeah, I remember my wife got a set of these Clippers, and my son was about, he's about 40 something now, but he was about 10 at the time, playing in a big final, his first big final for the school. Yeah. And I said to him, do you want I can't remember
like a Dogs of War haircut,
sort of thing. Yeah. Footballers clip. And I didn't realise the guard had to be on. So I just basically cut these sort of holes in his head.
Oh, no.
Didn't look great, really, for the final.
I would have been slightly frightened of him, though, in the final. Did they win or not? Can you remember?
They won, yeah.
Oh, well, he did this. Keep away from that kid. He's got great big chunks of hair missing.
That's when I got told off for abusing the ref by John Salthouse.
Oh, the actor of Bill and Abigail's Party fame. That's quite a good claim to fame, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I felt anyway, about 1 inch big after he finished with me, but there we go.
We'll take your Clipper tales today. If you've had Beck's-like experiences of thinking, oh, blimey, that wasn't supposed to happen. And how do you remember? I suppose you've got to go for it. If you
well, he has to do the whole lot off.
Jason Manford said there were people going into hairdressers all over the country saying, can you just cut a bit of hair
hole
off?
In my head.
Hole in my head, would you mind? Yeah.
Now, Troy Deeney, they're talking about strikers. The striker market is very hot, and Nicholas Jackson might be available, and his numbers are fantastic. He leads the league in runs in behind. 9 more than anyone else at 60. Unfortunately, 57 of them were offside. But apart from that,
that can't be right, surely.
Not true. Yeah. He has got great numbers. That it's just his XG is about 10 less than it should be, and that's
so he gets in behind. He times his runs
in positions, and all that
and
stuff.
Then
but
he misses.
He misses quite a lot. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
This was an interesting story. Cricket helmets, well, I say interesting for one reason. Cricket helmets should be made of fiberglass or aluminium, boffins say. Chinese scientists say hardened plastics don't offer the same level of protection. You think, why are they testing cricket helmets in China? Is there a big market for them?
I don't know.
Whenever I'm in Shanghai, I like to buy a nice cricket helmet.
Tell you what they should be. They should be made of willow.
Willow?
Well, because then if the ball comes off the helmet, you get a 6 off of it.
That's true, really. It doesn't say this in here.
No, a little willow helmet. I think it would offer the same level of protection.
Hasn't said we'll use willow.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, you asked me about karma. And I've got a couple of examples of this. This one was from last week's Club World Cup, and Martin Samuel writing about it yesterday. He said, at a FIFA dinner on the eve of the final, the Chelsea delegation noted how preoccupied the representatives of PSG were with how and where they'd collect the trophy. it had not entered their minds it might not be theirs to collect.
Ooh.
Chelsea people informed their head coach Enzo Maresca of this, and he passed it on to the players. So, this is a thing. And I remember the 2012 final when we walked into the stadium, the Allianz in Munich. This is something like our stadium, our cup, our something or other. It was so assuming they were going to win. It was ridiculous. And you thought, all right, we'll see about that. And that's karma.
You think a bit of sporting karma was in play.
Karma. And the same with that. Don't start celebrating or, that sort of thing. So have you ever got any examples of people celebrating too soon?
If you want a bit of sporting karma, let's have a few of those along with your Clipper tales. talksport.com/H&J. Text to 81089 or tweet to TSH&J 03717223344. Rory McIlroy, when he finished his rounds after at the Open at the weekend, went home and watched Oppenheimer. He watched half of it, I think, on the Friday, and then a little bit on the. And I thought,
quite a long film.
That's why his round was an hour too long. much like the film, wasn't it? Really,
very true.
He came back and he just took an extra hour that he maybe didn't need.
There was a bloke following him round that was the Irish version. The guy that goes to American golf tournaments, goes, "Get in the hole." He said every toy drives you mad. That fella. This bloke was going, "Light the candle." Every time he made a shot, you think, "Oh,
light the candle."
Light the candle in a big, strong Irish accent.
Well, unlike your one, you just
mine.
did.
Yeah, well, I can do an Irish.
Yeah, but that's
they love my Michael O'Hare.
Well, you've often said that they love my Michael O'Hare in Ireland. I'm yet to see any evidence of that.
Cillian Husk and myself.
Oh yes,
very excited about Harris English.
Yes, I'm sure you were. Again,
delighted.
They are looking rather strongly Americans, aren't they, for the Ryder Cup?
Oh dear. I mean, if Scheffler gets 5 points on his own, which he's going to get,
you
only need 14 to win. So
you're not the sports psychologist then. Luke Donald won't be giving you a call.
It's true.
Yeah.
He is. You just wish he enjoyed it a bit more. I mean, he can only do what he is. He's being very honest, but you sort of think.
No, look, I don't know. I think the reason he is so good is that he's got. It's very difficult for people in sport sometimes, especially a very sort of solo sport like golf, to get perspective, and he's got perspective. Maybe. I think he has. He proved it the other day. He wants to win. He's obviously naturally very, very good and a brilliant player, and he works hard at it. But he's also got a bit of perspective on it. And you can't buy that, because as much as you want that, as much as a sports psychologist will work with you to give you that perspective, it's innate. And he's clearly got it. Whether it's faith, whether it's family, whatever it is, he's chilled in a way that a lot of other players aren't in those key moments. So, I mean, it is getting Tiger-like. When you hear... Schauffele was sort of talking about him, wasn't he? And saying that when he's he said he can't say he's on a run. He's just been killing it for over 2 years now. He's a tough man to beat. And when you see his name up on the leaderboard, it really sucks for us. So that thing that Tiger used to have, you almost beaten before you got there.
Wonderful player. He was brilliant yesterday. It was a procession, wasn't it? It was, it was all about who'd finished second.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Did you see this story? This is a mad story, honestly. We've had a lot about social media today. But this one just makes no sense. She has 165,000 followers on Instagram, and recently posted images showing her enjoying the tennis at Wimbledon.
Right.
But the model whose social media persona became an internet sensation at the championships was actually created by AI. So she doesn't even exist.
It's probably some bloke in his bedroom eating a pizza listening to Metallica.
Mad, honestly. And people are asking her questions. One bloke's proposed to her. What's wrong with these people? She doesn't even exist. Oh, God.
She doesn't even exist. Anyway, Andy Goldstein popped and told us about it last week. 21 minutes to go is the brand new weekly podcast from Goldstein and Cundy, and it's out now. Each week, the former late-night superstar duo will offer a flavour of the good old days in a no-holds-barred, adults-only, brackets they're swearing, show that lasts exactly 21 minutes.
Of course it does.
Not a second more. Whatever they're talking about, whatever's being said.
21 minutes is
21 minutes. Bang, it's off. Episode 2 was released this morning. We can't play you any.
How long is it?
I can't tell you. With new episodes every Monday. That's 21 minutes to go. The new weekly podcast with Goldstein and Cundy, available now wherever you get your podcast.
Just one final note from the golf. Ewan Murray yesterday, he said, this is a sponsorship thing, he went, thank you very much for watching the Rolex Hour. Well, I thought to myself, 59 minutes if you've got a rubbish watch that isn't a Rolex.
That's where it keeps stopping. Unlike the Rolex, of course, that keeps perfect time.
Well, exactly.
You're not wearing yours today, Andy?
I haven't got one, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Right. Really? Haven't you? Okay.
No, I haven't.
Fair enough. We're going to have a chat with Lawrence Okolie joining us in the studio very shortly. We're here with our good friends at Toolstation. Get thousands of products delivered to you with fast track on the Toolstation app. Next stop, Toolstation. Now, this Saturday sees a boxing double header, Andy.
Oh, yes, what is it?
A little bit about that. I'll tell you what, I'll come back to that. Because talkSPORT hosted their very own watch-along for Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois on Saturday. Here's how the team reacted to Usyk's crowning moment.
But Usyk will look to finish it. Goes in with the right hook, misses with the left, but he's landed a huge left hand again. He's down once more, and I think it's going to be all over this time. Dubois is at the count of 8, 9, and the fight is over. A towel comes in, but it was finished anyway. Usyk has shown that he is absolutely in another class to Daniel Dubois. Tonight, he was just exceptional.
Yes, that's how it all unfolded with the team.
I watched it because my stream, unfortunately, was Michael buffering. Mad. And I always have it on anyway. If I'm watching a big fight, I always have I'm not just saying this, I have the watch along, and as soon as it goes to the corner, I love their sort of inter-round summaries. Yeah. And I ended up watching most of it because it was really difficult to watch. I ended up watching the stream. It was fantastic.
Well, also really fighting on Saturday night at Wembley is our next guest in the studio, and a fine win. But he's got his arm in a sling. Lawrence Okolie has joined us. Hi, Lawrence.
Hi, how's it going?
Wow. I mean, when our producer told us, you'd gone 10 rounds and won unanimous decision, but you tore your bicep in the first round.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. It was it's a first as a surreal experience. But I'm not happy that it happened, but I'm happy that I managed to get through it despite the injury, and I still managed to win, I think, all the rounds, so it was good. Yeah.
Did your opponent, sorry Paul, did he know that you were injured?
No, I couldn't even let my corner know, because I didn't want anyone to sort of change the sort of mindset I was in. I was just, and I need to win. I didn't want sympathy or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to get through. But by the time the fight was finished, my arm was, halfway down. My bicep was halfway down my arm. But yeah.
Did you know you'd done it?
Yeah, I knew some. Obviously, I've never had this particular injury, but as soon as I threw the left hook, I just felt someone go pop, and then it felt like someone was pulling my arm. There's no one else there, so I was like, something's up. But especially the guy who's boxing, he's a world champion at the moment. Solid guy. You can't give them any sort of inkling, no pain in the face, no let up, because otherwise he comes on stronger, he gets all the motivation, and that could change the momentum of a fight.
Did it change your game plan at all? Were you nursing it?
Yeah, 100%, because my game plan was go round one. Most of my fights these days I go and try and put a dent in someone early. So you need two hands, you need the fluidity, you need the mindset to push. So the game plan was to put on him for the first 4 rounds and see if I can land something to end the fight early, and then we'll see how it goes after that. But as soon as it happened, as I tried to throw certain punches, I remember just thinking, if I keep doing that, it's going to get worse, and I'm not going to be able to get through the fight. So I then decided, I have to box now and move and just be selective and stuff like that. So
performance, incredible.
When you told your corner, afterwards, when you said, actually, I felt something going.
Yeah. No, they were like, first of all, why didn't you say nothing? I was like, I just, because I've been in training camp with them, so I know, they would start maybe trying to change stuff and just focusing on that. I wanted to focus on the guy and what I need to be doing. So the main thing was I think it was like the 3rd round, when I really felt it the most, I was like, I came back and I said, have I won that round? He's like, yeah. So I said, okay, if I won the round doing that, I can definitely do 7 or 8 more rounds of this exact thing. So let me just, focus on that.
How bad is the tear, and what's the time frame for getting back?
Well, I need a surgery 100%. I had an MRI on it. They said that.
Right.
Well, it's up to me. Some you can let it heal yourself, but you lose a bit of the strength in the arm, and I need the full strength. So I'll be getting a surgery. They said it depends on how well I rehab it. Well, obviously I'll be meticulous, so we'll have to wait and see.
Bit frustrating from your point of view, because there's interesting times in the heavyweight division. And
100%.
When were you hoping, if this hadn't happened, when were you hoping to get back in and fight?
I was hoping within 3 or 4 months to get a big camp in against a really good opponent. I'm very well positioned, very well ranked. So, and as we said, we get into the winter when all the big fights sort of happen. But I still might be able to. I'm not going to take any risks with it, but definitely, back end of the year, latest, January next year. But I just need to do whatever it takes to kind of stay in the mix and stay in big fights.
How have you found that step up from cruiser? You had one bridgerweight fight.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying it. I do think the 10 rounds on the weekend let me know, okay, you know what, maybe I need to lose a little bit of weight here, because although I'd managed to do the 10 rounds, it was like I felt a little bit more tired than I did, when I was...
the arm must have affected that too.
Yeah, true. And the adrenaline and just thinking about it 100%. It wasn't like I was completely out of energy, but, when you're in there against, some of the guys that I'm looking to be in there with over the next few months, you need to be firing at all cylinders from round 1 to round 12. So, yeah, but I've been enjoying it. I've been able to eat more. I've been able to sort of... change the way that I sort of approach fights now. So at cruiserweight, if this had happened, I don't know how I would have fared going the whole distance, because you're more fatigued, you feel a little bit I felt a little bit less robust, where now I feel a lot more solid within myself.
You should take confidence from the fact that with a torn bicep for 9 rounds, you went 10 rounds in a heavyweight fight, so that's a positive.
Yeah, no, 100% I do. There's positives to take. I like to be realistic with what's going on, and the guy was a good guy, and we got the win.
Obviously, Alexander Usyk's made the same journey as you from cruiser to heavy, and it doesn't seem to have dented him. I mean, did you get to watch the fight?
Yeah, I got to watch the tail end. So I didn't watch the first couple of rounds, but I watched the round where he got the stoppage, and obviously I've watched it back since, and you know, I know knockouts are what makes boxing fans. I'm a box fan as well. Eyes light up, but it's not just the fact he got a knockout. It's just it really put an exclamation mark on what he's done over the past, you know, decade, which is like he's boxed the best at cruiserweight, because I was, you know, up and coming when he was world champion there. Went to heavyweight. Someone like Tyson Fury, who we've seen beat Klitschko, we've seen beat Wilder. He went and beat him again. Anthony Joshua, who's, you know, under unified champion, beat him again. Dan DeBar, young, hungry, powerful guy, beat him twice. It's like, then obviously all the other people, you know, Bradis and Bellew and then it just really put an exclamation mark. I was like, wow, this guy's really actually amazing. Like, I know I'm a heavyweight and I should be saying, oh, I would smash him in it. I just look and I say, I've got to be realistic. This guy is amazing. So, you know, we'll go
I
from
love
there.
watching him box. He's really special. Gareth A, who knows much more about it than I do, says that Usyk is in his top 10 heavyweights of all time.
Has to be. Obviously, you know, I wasn't around when, you know, the Muhammad Ali's and Fraser and everyone was fighting. I can look back in the video and say, wow, those guys are some hard guys. Those guys are some good guys. But I look at Usyk and I say, well, why couldn't he have competed with any generation of heavyweight? Because if you just break it down attribute-wise, Tyson Fury is bigger than any other of the heavyweights that have come before. Anthony Joshua is as explosive as any of the ones that come before. Dan DeBar is as big a puncher as any of the other ones that come before. And he's managed to negate all those different styles for the last, you know, 10 or so years. So why couldn't he compete with any generation? I don't really like saying he's the best ever, or because it's hard.
It's hard to compare.
But if you talk about, you know, for example, Ronaldo or someone like that in football, you can say any generation you put him in, he would have been able to play. That's the same thing I say about someone like Usyk.
There's been a few reports that Daniel had quite a chaotic day in the build-up to the fight, and he only got there 80-90 minutes before his ring walk.
Dubois looks nervous. Usyk looks very confident.
That says a lot.
I mean, I don't know, that's how it felt.
Yeah, there's something. The body language wasn't great before the fight. What time do you like to get there? I mean, would 80-90 minutes be pushing it for you? If you've got a big
I like to get there 2 to 3 hours. Well, 3 hours before. You know, it takes, depending on who's wrapping your hands, it could take 20, maybe 25 minutes per hand to wrap well. So that's already your first hour of just chilling, relaxing into the fact that you're in the arena, relaxing into the fact that you're going to be fighting soon. If you come and that's rushed, you're already on the back foot. Now everything that's happening, you don't feel in control anymore. I can't relax into it. It's like you're about to run a 100-meter sprint in the Olympic final, and then they just pushed you. Hey, forget your warm up, just go and run as fast as you can. Do you know what I mean? So it is quite a tough one, but you know that it can't be it can be a reason perhaps, but we can't use it as an excuse.
No,
you know,
I don't think the result's any different.
Yeah, no, of course not. And also, it's like you have to take a bit of accountability in terms of how your day goes. You know, I think, as a world champion, which he was, and you know, as a 27-year-old man, it's like cool. The stuff that I heard happen, I am completely shocked that it's happened. But you have to be able to take the day by the scruff of the neck, especially with stakes as high as this.
Yeah. Have you thought about who you'd like to take on? Are there fighters out there that you'd like to get in with?
Definitely. For me, it's like any of the top, 5 to 10 fighters. I think I got to be realistic. I can't now say Usyk. I'm next. You got to be, realistic.
And that set you back a little bit.
Yeah, set me back, and and I don't like doing, fake call outs. Like when I call someone that I really want to get it done. So for me, I want to nurse this back, but I do want, a top fighter, someone like Ajit Caballero, who everyone, puts probably top 3 or 4 in the world. He's WBC interim. I'm WBC #1. So that's the type of fight where he's a great fighter. I've met him in person on the weekend. Looks strong, boxes very well. That's the type of fight I need to be in to prove, hey, I can be a freeweight world champion. So that's my favourite one.
A bit of news today about Josh Taylor. He's had to retire with an eye issue, and he was undisputed world champ a few years back, and so he came in and saw us today, and he was top of the world. But it kind of tells you really that the life of the boxer that day was, it couldn't have been any better for him. Then he had the Jack catchall controversy and picks up the injury. It's a shame when a good fighter has to call it a day.
100%. You know, I used to train with him when I was with Shane. We were both with Shane at the same time. Dedicated athlete, strong, resilient, and it is a shame, you know, because he is, you know, maybe he doesn't get the full rating and respect I think maybe he deserves as an undisputed, as in all the belts champion. Well,
that was an incredible victory, wasn't it? When he won, I mean, it was up there. It was like the sort of Don Curry, Lloyd Hannigan shock, wasn't it? Really,
this is it. And it was like, you know, it wasn't by accident. It's like he really went and grabbed it with both hands. But you know, it's always tough when we find out the sort of mortality of fighters, because we like to feel invincible.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a bicep
exactly.
tear.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an eye of this. But it's the reality of the sport that we're in. It's a dangerous sport, and you put your lives on the line. And you know, I wish him the best. I think he's had a great career, and you know, hopefully he goes on and enjoys life after boxing.
And Jake Paul's in the news, of course. He's been calling out Anthony Joshua. How would you feel about fighting Jake Paul? I mean, you've got a bigger fish to fry, I guess.
Yeah,
but so has AJ.
I mean, yeah, agreed. I think, you know, if I'm going to be honest, you know, money talks. Let's be honest. You know, that is a huge money fight, but you have to. I don't know what it is about. Like, say they said someone else, I'd be a little bit like, oh, okay, you know, fair enough. But it's just AJ. Obviously, we saw what happened with him and Francis Ngannou. It's like if AJ really turns on the day, Jake Paul is like a cruiserweight, like, you know, and this is a really big, strong, explosive heavyweight man. If he turns on the day and says, I got a point to prove, or Jake Paul says the wrong thing to him in the build-up, it could be a really like, I'm not talking like a knockout, I'm talking about like serious damage.
Yeah, that's the concern, isn't it?
That's the I get the money, like Jake Paul, like, me and him got a relationship. It's like, I'm all for that, you know, but when it gets to, like, if it's very serious, like a boxing match, sometimes just it happens. Dangerous game.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. Let's hope that it doesn't happen. Yeah. Well, we wish you a speedy recovery, Lawrence. Well done, and look forward to seeing you back in the ring soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, appreciate it.
Don't forget the latest edition of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver, Joseph Parker, Lawrence Okolie, and the newly retired Josh Taylor is available at 8 p.m. this evening on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. We're going to talk European football with Andy Brassel in a few moments' time.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at dazn.com/boxing.
So the Premier League champions' summer spend is now almost up to 300 million quid. Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 79 million for striker Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Ekitike is due in the UK tomorrow for a medical. Liverpool are looking for a 6-year contract. Meanwhile, Ashley Young is off to Ipswich. Wage demands were too much for Watford, apparently. Neil Warnock told us even at 40, Young is a great get for Championship Ipswich.
To be fair, I think he's got better. He's been like a good bottle of wine, Ashley. I think he's got better defensively as he's got older.
To Rugby Union, where Steve Tandy has been named as the new Wales head coach. The former Neath and Ospreys flanker is leaving his role as Scotland's defence coach to sort out his home nation's woeful Test record. Tandy will be in charge of Wales until at least the 2027 World Cup in Australia, which is where the Lions are now. And late injury call-up Owen Farrell is in the team to face a Pacifica side tomorrow. Jamie George cannot wait to play with him again.
The bloke's rugby royalty. He goes down as one of the best ever, and this confirms that. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up putting his name in the hat for 5. The way he's going and the way he's looking, and he's been very, very impressive over the last week or so, and that competitive streak, but also physically he looks in really good way.
We've got live coverage of the British and Irish Lions versus First Nations and Pacifica on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Yes, good afternoon, Paul Hawksbee, Hawksbee Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Joining us now at one half of the excellent Trans-Europe Express show every Sunday evening. The other half, Danny Kelly, joining us for a postcard from Ireland a little bit later on. But Andy Brassel with us now. Good afternoon, Andy.
Hello, fellas. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. We spoke to Troy Deeney about Marcus Rashford earlier on. From looking at it from Barca's point of view, how do you see that as a fit, Andy?
It's an interesting one. Ideally, I think they would have gone for someone a little bit more expensive. Luis Diaz was on their list, and they're very keen on him. But I guess this is necessity for Barcelona and necessity for Marcus Rashford, really, because clearly he's not got the same reputation as he did a couple of years ago, despite some good things he did on that loan spell at Aston Villa. But he really wants to make this work. It's a huge club, a club that he's been interested in for a while. They're a club that has been interested in him for a while too, so that's really important. But it seems, initially at least, that the plan is to use him as a sort of deluxe substitute. Now, Deco, the sporting director, he talked about the idea of really covering for that front three. Of course, Lewandowski is getting on a bit, but it's more about the wide players. It's more about Rafinha and Lamine Yamal, who find room for themselves in central areas as well. The idea is that Rashford will come off the bench, it seems, and fill in for one of those. And if Lewandowski's injured, they don't plan to use Rashford as a centre forward to replace him. So he would be on the left, where he seems to be most comfortable. Look, he's made a financial sacrifice to make this happen that maybe he wouldn't have made for a Premier League club. So I think there's every reason to be positive about this, especially with the good bits that we saw at Aston Villa. And look, I think because people have an idea of Marcus Rashford and who he is and what he is on and off the field nowadays, that people just want to say that they're either all in on him being brilliant for Aston Villa or they weren't buying it. Whereas I think the truth is somewhere in between. And now he's really got the opportunity to build something, but without the pressure of you're the starter, make this happen, otherwise it's a disaster.
Yeah, he showed some good signs at Villa.
Yeah, he did. No, he did. He got his appetite back, certainly. Randall Colomwani, who has been on loan at Juve, made a good start, scored lots of goals, then the goals dried up. So, are Juve looking to keep him? Or if not, I say he's been linked with United, Chelsea, Newcastle, other clubs over here.
Yeah, they want to keep him, but not at any price. Juventus are not the Juventus of old. They have financial limits, and they don't want to buy him permanently. They can't buy him permanently. They just can't. So they're trying to thrash out another loan. PSG are not really happy with what they're being offered at the moment. Of course, they invested a lot into Colomwani, and it's not quite worked, but that leaves them with a lot of money on the books, really. They probably have to loan him again to get him at anything near a sort of sellable level, really. So what the Premier League clubs have been alerted to is the fact that at the moment PSG and Juventus are absolutely miles apart. Now, anyone who's really familiar with Colomwani's game will know that he is a player who could really thrive in the Premier League. He's physical, he's quick, he scores goals, he sets up others, he's super intelligent. As you say, great start at Juventus, despite them being in a not brilliant place for most of last season. I would think it's a very good loan deal for a United or a Newcastle.
Yeah, interesting.
I listening.
I thought he was a bit average myself, but there we go.
Well, I mean, I've not really seen enough of him.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I haven't seen enough of him.
I think the thing is, when you're looking at that sort of player, you think of him as the speed and the aggression and the finishing ability, but actually he's got a far higher than normal football intelligence. You look at the good players he's linked with and the good players who've really clicked with him. So you look at, I don't know, Mario Götze, Kylian Mbappe, players who can't speak highly enough of him. So I think there's much more to him than meets the eye, and just because it didn't really work at PSG, I mean, that's the same for Ugo Ekitike, who Liverpool are about to spend a fortune on, of course.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to talk about that. Topmüller, the manager of Eintracht, normally managers say, well, no player's bigger than the club, we move on. None of that. He obviously sat out the game at the weekend, the friendly. He said he didn't play. You can imagine everything else. It's a bitter loss. We lost our absolute top player in the winter with Omar Mamouche. The other player stepped in and developed sensationally. It's quite possible that that's history too. So he sounds a broken man losing his two-star players.
They've sold a fortune worth of players, Frankfurt, haven't they, in the last 2 or 3 years?
More than that. If we go all the way back, you look at the money that they made for Luka Jovic. They made 60 for him. They sold Sebastian Haller for a fortune. Rebic. Look, there are so many of them, and that's before we get to Colomwani, who they sold at €100 million profit, pretty much, and Willian Pacho. So they know what they're doing, and Dino Topmüller is doing exactly what a coach should do. He is saying, well, we haven't sold him yet, so let's keep his value up publicly. It does my head in when you get coaches who go, yeah, we don't really want this player, we're just looking for a solution for him. Don't say that. Like, at least convince the world that he's got some value. I find that extraordinary. Whereas I think Ekitike is funny. He's in that sort of sweet spot at the moment. I mean, to me, it's crazy that he's going to go for more money than Gyökeres or Victor Osimhen is going to Galatasaray for. But this is the way the transfer market is now, because we live in this world of FFP and PSR and the equivalent in different countries. Yeah. It is exactly, Andy. It's the idea that let's not get the guy who's 100% in his prime now. Let's get the guy who's going to hit his prime. So this is where the Newcastle thing is interesting with Ekitike, for example. And, you know, the idea that maybe, obviously officially they were hoping to unite Isak and Ekitike. I don't ever really know whether that's financially a goer, but, you know, people in the boardroom at Newcastle would know the answers to that better than me. But the thing is that Ekitike arriving, he's not the equal of Isak. He's not anywhere near. He is Isak when Isak arrived in the Premier League. Yeah. But that's how much that costs nowadays. That costs more than Gyökeres, who is already proving that he is pretty much plug and play.
He scored a wonderful goal against us, against Tottenham in the Europa League. But then he
was great in that game.
He was, but in the second leg, when Tottenham sat in that low block, Van der Ven and Romero sort of handled him pretty well. Yeah. And you he's going to encounter a lot of that, when teams play against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you go back to the very beginning of his career when he was at Reims. He's shown up in most of the big games. He's scored big goals in most of the big games. So, look, he's got all the tools in terms of strength, intelligence, finishing ability that tells you that he can be a smash hit in the Premier League. Of course, he's not proved it until he's actually proved it. No. So, nothing is absolutely risk-free. But you can understand, especially with his age, that so many clubs are interested in him. And I kind of think the fact that it didn't really work for him at PSG, which was a bad decision. He could have been in the Premier League as one of Eddie Howe's first signings, but he chose to go to PSG instead, where realistically he was never getting in the team in front of Mbappe, Neymar or Messi. It just wasn't happening. So that was quite frustrating for him. But I think the feeling is amongst clubs and scouts that because he's had that difficult spell and because he's put it back together at Eintracht Frankfurt, that suggests character as well as quality.
You mentioned Osimhen. The Galatasaray move looks like it's happening. I mean, he's one of the sort of top half a dozen strikers in the world, so it's quite a coup for the Turkish league, but he obviously felt loved there after what had happened.
I think the money might have something to do with it as well.
I'm sure, but I mean, he could. I mean, could he have matched that money in the Premier League?
Nowhere near. And I think that is where the Turkish Super League is kind of in a good place at the moment, because you can be in a position where you can be in the Champions League. You can play in, a league that's got more and more big stars in it, but you can play in the Champions League, and Galatasaray qualify automatically this season because Turkish clubs have done better and better and better. You go back a couple of seasons and the champions, Galatasaray, were having to do 3 qualifying rounds to get in the Champions League. That's no longer the case anymore. They can plan with some sort of certainty. But as Andy says, 16 million euros after tax. Wow. He's not getting half that in the Premier League, probably. No. So, he was definitely at the start of the summer. He was waiting to see what sort of Premier League interest was around. But look, when it became clear that interest wasn't going to become concrete, he had a great time at Galatasaray. I think he's looking forward to going back there. He was never considering the Saudi Pro League, even though they're offering double the money, at least, of what he's getting in Turkey. So, I think it's a good thing for them. It's a good thing for Turkish football. And bear in mind the arrivals of like John Duran, the most likely arrivals of Milan Skriniar, of Fenerbahce as well, Marco Asensio. They're really building something here. They're building something quite star-based that, I guess, increase their international reach. I mean, that's what Mourinho's all about. He replaced a guy who was the coach who got 99 points the previous season. Mourinho was never going to match that. And at the end of it, he spent a ton of money, or the club has spent a ton of money on his behalf. And they're 11 years without winning the title. But they're on some metrics, I guess a very modern football metric, you would say that Fenerbahce have had a really successful season because they can get star players to come, and because everyone all over the world is talking about them, because whether you think Mourinho is cooked as a coach or not, he's still a huge personality.
Absolutely. Andy, we're out of time. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
How they go in the Champions League this year as well.
That's Andy Brassel. Thanks to him. Now, the latest edition of Trans Europe Express with Danny Kelly and Andy Brassel is available. And the guys were joined by talkSPORT's Uma Gurav to discuss the biggest story coming out of Switzerland today surrounding Lioness Jess Carter suffering racist abuse, as well as a preview to England's huge semi-final versus Italy. They also discuss some European qualifying games on the road to Budapest. Of course, their Rangers are in action tomorrow. It's all getting pretty serious in Champions League qualifying. It's also a roundup of transfers with transfer reporter Anil Condola and Tim Vickery join them to discuss all the latest South American news. So don't miss out on the new exciting episode of Danny Kelly's Trans Europe Express. You can listen to it now on the talkSPORT app or via your favourite podcast platforms. We're going to have a chat with Eamonn Thomas, Southampton supporting athlete, 28 years on. Him and the rest of the relay team finally received their gold medal. So we will be catching up with him in a few moments' time. We're here with Toolstation. Get fast track delivery in as little as 30 minutes on the Toolstation app. Next stop, Toolstation. Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Now, proud moment for Britain's 4x400 metre relay team from the 1997 World... That's right, 1997 World Championship at the Diamond League meeting, the Olympic Stadium at the weekend. The guys were given their gold medals. The USA were stripped of the title, which they won in Athens when Antonio Pettigrew confessed to doping in 2008.
Yeah, we watched the race, didn't we, pre the show? It was really interesting.
Yeah. Proud moment for the guys and their families. Joining us now, one of their number, Eamonn Thomas. Hi, Ewan.
Hi, guys. You all right?
Yeah, good, thank you. Look, belated congratulations. I wonder how you look back on it. I mean, I'm sure delighted that your family and friends and everybody could be there to witness it, but maybe a little bit bitter that it's taken this long.
Yeah, I think that the biggest shame in all of it is obviously we didn't get that moment on the night so many years ago, 28 years ago. We didn't do the lap of honour. We weren't crowned world champions, and all the plaudits that brings. You know, it's not nice talking money sometimes, but I lost a lot of money by not being a world champion that night. You know, I would have had a huge bonus from my sponsors, and you know, perhaps it would have given me even more confidence as a young athlete to go on and to achieve more. But you know, as weird as it seems, I do think if I'd had that glory in 1997, yes, it would have meant a lot. But having my family there at the weekend, especially my young boy Teddy, who's just old enough to understand his dad used to be half decent at running around in a circle, it was special. And I've got to say thank you to the people of London, because 60,000 people were on their feet, and it was very emotional. I'll be honest, the four of us, you know, we're not young men anymore, and to be together in such a nice scenario in front of a British crowd, we wouldn't have had that back in 97. So yes, on the one hand, I'm angry. Obviously, drugs cheats, I hate them, you know, and it cost me medals. It cost me the gold medal. But to be able to celebrate the weekend in front of British fans and my family, it was special. I've got to say, I loved it.
Brilliant. We should mention it was yourself, Roger Black, Jamie Bolsh, Mark Richardson and Mark Hilton, who ran in the heats, who got all their medals the other day. Was there a feeling at the time? Was there kind of whispers that that Pettigrew was juicing? Did you ever suspect that it wasn't a buzz in athletics?
No, and honestly, as naive as this may sound, I never ever went into any race looking around thinking, cool, they look a bit dodgy. I've heard these rumours about X, Y, and Z. I used to just assume everyone was innocent. We're all on a level playing field, and that's how I like to look at it. And quite frankly, I'm not an expert on drugs, but Pettigrew was not somebody who looked like he was doping. You know, this guy was like a little whippy. He was really skinny, really lean. And he was just quick. You know, he wasn't like a muscle-bound, bad-skinned, big, angry-looking guy. But I think we've all got to remember that the biggest tragedy in all of this, forget the sport, forget the sponsorship we lost, Antonio Pettigrew took his life over this. I mean, and that is tragic. So my heart honestly goes out to his family. And, you know, I think it's so sad that, A, he was desperate enough to take drugs and cheat in the first place. But secondly, you know, to take his life over it must have been really painful for him, and the shame that it brought him. So, you know, I think that's the biggest, saddest thing. Yeah, 28 years is a long time to wait, but I just feel pity for his family.
No, very, very sad, absolutely. I turned on Saturday afternoon, and honestly, I was shocked at the crowd. I mean, it just shows how much athletics is loved by British people. It was an amazing crowd for a Diamond League fixture.
And very good timing. We've got the news today that they're going to push for the 2029 World Athletics Championships, which is great. And I think, you know, we've proved it in the past. This is a good nation for events. We're good events people when given the opportunity.
100%. Whatever you say about sport, if you like it or not, us Brits can put on a good show. We saw that in 2012 with the Olympics and the Paralympics. We had the World Championships in the same stadium we're talking about in 2017, and it was sold out every session, morning sessions, evening sessions. And as you said, look at the weekend, 60,000 people, and it was raining. Don't forget, the weather wasn't good at the weekend. It wasn't like a nice summer's day out to start with. And the fans are just passionate, track and field fan. In fact, all sports fans. You just see it with the buzz around Wimbledon or FA Cup finals, Champions League, whatever it is. When the big sporting occasions are on, we will fill a stadium. And I really hope we get the World Championships, because we know we can do it and we'll do it well. And on top of that, we've got some great athletes at the moment as well. So it's not just like we're a good nation to put sport on. We've got the athletes who will deliver.
Have you got the medal there, Ewan? Have you got it anywhere? Is your medal a bit?
It's hanging off my boy's bed, because when I came off the podium, I saw my boy Teddy. I said, Teddy, this is yours now. And I handed him the medal. And he didn't take it off that night. He slept in it that night. And I pried it off him this morning, and I've just hung it at the end of his bed. So yeah, my medals are for my kids. So yeah, that's long gone. That gold medal, I waited 28 years, but I've lost it already.
So did the silver medals get sent back? Jamaica were third. Obviously, they get upgraded to silver. Have those guys had an opportunity to have a ceremony and for that to get recognised?
I don't know, but I hope so, because, the Jamaicans, what passion, we talk about passionate fans all around the world. The Jamaican fans, I've got to say, are the best. They turn out everywhere, and their athletes are fantastic. So I really hope they get their moment in the sunshine as well, because they rightly deserve it.
Yeah. Well, it's brilliant. I mean, look, it's 28 years too late and in really tragic circumstances. But it's congratulations belatedly, Ewan. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Take care. There's Eamonn Thomas there, a gold medalist at last for him and that relay team from 1997.
You were right what you said about Infantino. Somebody showing this.
Well, yeah. I mean, this thing is,
honestly,
you think, you'd like to think we may get, the UK and potentially an Ireland get a World Cup collectively one day, but not as things stand.
2066, I'm going for. Surely. It's got to be 2066.
The head of FIFA has got bigger fish to fry, hasn't he, clearly. Now, this Saturday sees a boxing doubleheader both sides of the Atlantic as British titles are on the line. As Ghana takes on Bellotti live from Bournemouth, and five-weight world champion and undisputed heavyweight champion Clarissa Shields defends her titles against two-weight champion Lanny Daniels. That is in Detroit, and that's live only on DAZN. And you can sign up at DAZN.com/boxing. In the next hour of the show, Danny Kelly will join us with his weekly postcard from the world of Irish sport. Had the hurling on yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Danny can touch on that. I was watching a bit of that.
I normally do. I missed it. I like it. It's good, though.
Angelina Kelly joins us as well from Switzerland, part of our top team, bringing you the Euro 2025. And Dale Vince, watching Forest Green is now on prescription. He'll tell us more about that and all the big transfer stories of the day covered in the final hour.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
So the Premier League champions' summer spend is now almost up to 300 million quid. Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 79 million for striker Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Ekitike is due in the UK tomorrow for a medical. Liverpool are looking for a 6-year contract. Meanwhile, Ashley Young is off to Ipswich. Wage demands were too much for Watford, apparently. Neil Warnock told us even at 40, Young is a great get for Championship Ipswich.
I think he's got better. He's been like a good bottle of wine, Ashley. I think he's got better defensively as he's got older. And I think when Kieran looks at his squad, he's losing probably Semi Morsi and one or two experienced lads. I think he'll need something like that. Even if he's not playing every game, I think he needs somebody like that in the dressing room.
After his 4-shot win at the Open, Scotty Scheffler is looking more and more like a future great of golf. But is he too mechanical and a bit boring?
You know, I play and wear my heart on the sleeve and stuff, and I look at him and I think, oh, I wish I could have some of that. And I understand the points of it being boring because a lot of sport, you get a lot of characters, a lot of emotion. Emotion makes sport. It's just a different angle, but I'm telling you, it's a very powerful way to come at it. It might not be as fun, but my goodness, it's a powerful tool.
To rugby union, where Steve Tandy has been named as the new Wales head coach. The former Neath and Ospreys flanker is leaving his role as Scotland's defence coach to sort out his home nation's woeful Test record. Tandy will be in charge of Wales until at least the 2027 World Cup in Australia, which is where the Lions are now. And late injury call-up Owen Farrell is in the team to face a Pacifica side tomorrow. Jamie George cannot wait to play with him again.
The bloke's rugby royalty. Like he goes down as one of the best ever, and this confirms that. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up putting his name in the hat for 5. The way he's going and the way he's looking, and he's been very, very impressive over the last week or so, and that competitive streak, but also physically he looks in a really good way. So excited to get that back out there with him on tomorrow night.
We've got live coverage of the British and Irish Lions versus First Nations and Pacifica on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
There we are, a bit of undertones, and very much in the news with everything that's been going on in the world of water today. Fergal Sharkey, of course, the front man of the band.
Very good, that's true.
Music chosen for his postcard from Ireland, as always, by Danny Kelly. Good afternoon, Danny.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before we start, just obviously, I don't want to be, making out I was a close personal friend, but I just want to add to all the kind words said about our great colleague Bob Bubka over the last 24 hours here on talkSPORT. What a man. And the greatest thing I can say about Bob, apart from that voice, is that, and this is a great luxury in broadcasting, when I threw from me to him, I knew the programme would get better. And you can't say that. I can't say that about many people. So really sorry for his friends and family.
I saw your words yesterday. Very nice. Can I just say then, while we're doing that Martin Tyler has also just texted me and said, I'm not a golfer and I never met Bob, but I was transfixed every time I heard him on talkSPORT. I marvelled at the depth of his knowledge and, of course, the depth of that wonderful voice. Such a perfect name too, Bob Bubka. Made for the man as he made for a lifetime of outstanding broadcasting. R.I.P. Bob.
And Bob, he'd never met him, but he was a relation to Sergei Bubka, the famous pole vaulter.
Wow.
They were related. He said they'd never met, but people had done the groundwork and found that they were actually related.
Which is amazing because I couldn't see them swapping places, could you? With Bob doing the pole vault. I don't know whether Sergei is a great golf commentator or not, but Bob and the pole vault, I'm getting nothing back in vibes.
I think he did make that point at the time that genetically hadn't worked out that way. But no, we shall definitely miss our chats with him. It was always a joy. So, Danny, we had on terrestrial TV over here in the UK and England yesterday. We had the hurling on. The game was on live, the All Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it was a very unusual final in front of the usual 82,000 plus people, none of whom pay, of course. They're given the tickets by the association for their work. No, the tickets all go out through the GA itself into clubs, Andy.
Wow.
And players are amateur. And it still produces that kind of crowd. Last year was a very close final, went down to the last seconds. This one was amazing. Cork, who were the favourites, went into the half-time with a handy lead. And then we saw the most, I think historically, the widest thrashing ever applied in a second half as Tipperary took them to pieces. It was the most points scored, I think, in the second half against one team, and certainly the biggest points gap established ever in the second half. And Tipperary waltzed home in the end.
Has there ever been a push for professionalism in GAA sports? Has there ever been?
It's so complicated, Paul. The players, by and large, people will tell you the players have jobs that allow them to train full time and all that. It's a bit like, in some cases, a bit like the old way that rugby union players were amateur.
Yeah.
But what is undoubtedly true is that the Gaelic Athletic Association in Ireland, for whatever reasons, has tons and tons of money. And the people who make the tons and tons of money don't get it. And sooner or later, I suspect that the people who don't get it will be saying, why don't we get it? And
it's like college sport in the USA.
Sport in the USA. I was about to say that. Yeah.
They'll be marching on the GAA headquarters with hurls aflame,
And I remember talking to someone about, because they used to send a football team, Gaelic football team, over to play the Aussies. They would do this Aussie rules game. And of course, all the Aussie rules boys were full time. And the guys would go over and they'd sort of bust shoulders. They couldn't go out to work. They got no help from the GAA. They didn't get their hospital fees paid.
No, I mean, look, the hurling and the Gaelic football, they are great, and in case of hurling, I'd say it's the greatest one nation sport in the world. I can't think of a more passionately followed, brilliant to watch, an exciting sport that's played in one country. But that there's all kinds of reasons why the captain makes the initial speech, the winning captain in Gaelic. It's to do with the politics of Britain and Ireland back in the day, and the amateurism is something they've clung on to. And it doesn't get questioned very much, Paul. I'll be honest with you.
Wow.
That is the state. That is the state of the game.
Wow.
Now we had a sort of an inter-island cross-border battle, didn't we? Shelbourne versus Linfield in the Champions League. What happened, Danny?
Well, first of all, Shelbourne from the Republic beat Linfield from Northern Ireland. I have to say though, Paul, having been part of a hype that went on when the draw was made, the actual game did not, in the end, make much headlines, partially because of what we just discussed. I forgot it was in the run-up to the All-Ireland Hurling final, which occupies acreages of coverage online and on newsprint. But also, of course, we were running up to the Open in Portrush, and so the TV was dominated by pictures of 16-year-old Rory McIlroy with his curls breaking the course record, and Shane Lowry swearing when his shots went awry. And on top of that, it was in the middle of the build-up to the British and Irish Lions match against Australia, which in this country is regarded as Ireland, with a little bit of help from Scotland and England versus Australia. They've got 18 players out there. They've got 8 in the starting 15. If there hadn't been injuries, they would have had 10 in the starting 15. So it's kind of regarded as a bit of a tour for Ireland. So all of that meant that the Linfield-Shelbourne match was rather disappeared. Now, Shelbourne won. They drew 1-1 in Belfast, having won 1-0 in Dublin. And they're through. Interestingly, the draw was made a couple of hours ago for the next qualifying round, Paul and Andy. Shelbourne have drawn Carabag. That is 4,100 kilometres away, or 2,500 miles, a 5,000-mile round trip. I don't think there's ever been a European tie involving such distances between clubs.
Wow,
that is a long way.
I mean, it's a hell of a... I mean, Dublin to Azerbaijan to Karabakh, whoa.
I wonder if they get help for the costs of that, because it's quite expensive to take a whole squad all that way and put them up and do all that stuff.
And they can't go on the ferry, let's be honest. That's not going to work, is it?
No,
have any other Irish side sort of made it through these stages?
Yes, mixed results. St Patrick's came through. They played against Hagelman from Lithuania. Spurs-bound Mason Melia got the goal in the second leg that kind of put the tie to bed. Tiny Larn from the north of Ireland also went through on penalties against a side from Riga in Latvia called Auda. But out went, and this is a real shame, really. Cliftonville lost 4-5 on aggregate from the north of Ireland against Gibraltar. I mean, they can't be losing to Gibraltarian sides, but they did. St Joseph's. Two things, of course. It means that we no longer have a ground called Solitude in the tournament, because Cliftonville famously play at the beautifully named Solitude. But the real sadness is that they would have played Shamrock Rovers in the next round, and we'd have had the whole Shelbourne against Linfield thing, part 2, but they went out.
Now, you mentioned Mason Mealy there. He's off to Spurs at the start of next year when he's old enough. You've got another young Irish lad coming to the Premier League. Yeah, we have, and this is all the slight knock-on of Brexit, where these boys would have gone to England as 14, 15, 16-year-olds to go into academies. Now they can't do that for Brexit rules that I'm certainly only Andy understands. And so it's been a slight benefit to Irish clubs in that some of these boys have gone off to clubs within the EU and had a new football experience, but it also meant that they've got some value now. So we saw Mason Melia, who Spurs have paid over £1 million for. That was a record for an Irish club in any transfer. Well, enter Victor Ossian, you've got to get this right, Ossian Vanu, who plays for Shamrock Rovers. He's 16, he's a midfielder. He got his first goal on this weekend in the Irish FA Cup against Wexford. And Arsenal have just put in a bit of, they have had a bid of £2 million accepted for him. So he's sick. He can't go and play for them for at least another 2 years, such as the rules about moving young people around Europe. Interesting backstory as well. He's of Russian and Nigerian extraction, but born in the unglamorous, I hope people will forgive me for this, Dublin area of Tala. Okay. So he's Russian, Nigerian, Irish. It's a brilliant lineup of things to be, isn't it? I mean, Mason Melia's up to €4 million, including the add-ons for Tottenham. So
is that right? Well, you can be absolutely sure that this fellow will be there or further ahead than that, as the clubs, both the Premiership and the Irish clubs, have worked out. This is how to do these things now. Leave them here in Ireland for a couple of years, but make sure you get their name on a piece of paper. Depending on how they develop.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
You spotted some standout names in the Irish FA Cup second round.
It was lovely. The FA Cup, the second round of the Irish FA Cup, there were no shocks, actually, but in fact there were some horrible beatings, but I liked the names of Wayside Celtic, who I can't be honest, I know much about, Fairview Rangers, who are from Limerick, but the ones that really caught my eye in some ways were the teams where the links between the island you're on and the island I'm on. Who knows? Somebody will know, but I don't know why Salt Hill Devon, who actually went through, are called Devon. But there they are. And my favourite, because it sent me scrambling for Google, Cork City, who you would expect because they're a top-flight team, handily beat Leicester Celtic. Leicester Celtic. Now, when I did the research, Leicester Celtic was started in the 60s in a suburb of Dublin where Leicester Road was the first place that the boys were asked to play, so they became Leicester Celtic. In Rathfarnham, a very leafy suburb of Dublin, but not a club that's been without success. It has produced several very familiar names: Damien Duff, Richard Sadlier, Gavin Bizunu. So they've all turned out for Leicester at one stage or another.
That's a good triv question. It is. They played for. They played for Leicester and Celtic. Who are they?
That is very good. Damien Duff was on the list. Absolutely.
Nice. Danny, we'll catch up with you next week. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Bless you, man. Cheers. Bye.
Danny Kelly every week giving us a postcard from Ireland, because it's one of the only leagues still going strong throughout the summer. We love talking to Danny as well. Ian from Derby, Clipper Tails. David Beckham's got a great big clump out of his head, of course. The guard came off and he's now got a sort of bald bit. I spent all weekend asking my wife to cut my hair. She finally got round to it at 11 p.m. on Sunday night after she drunk a bottle of Prosecco. She was so heavy-handed the guard came off, resulting in a single sweep of semi-baldness at the rear of my head.
Oh, no.
Similar to the first pass of the lawnmower in spring. We had a row and I had to spend a whole week at work sat in the corner of my office to avoid any embarrassment. My PA arranged all my meetings and fetched my lunches so I didn't have to move from the corner. Till it started to grow out. Inebriated spouses and hair clippers are a dangerous combo, says Ian in Derby.
Brilliant.
We've had quite a few of these, Andy, coming in as a corker. Went for a haircut in 1996 to a barber's in South London, says Quinton in Norfolk, the Palace fan. Never been to him before. I gave him the usual instructions. In almost all cases of going to the barber, they do a sound job. Not today. He basically scalped me and left me with the shortest, most brutal cut of my 30 years. Making it doubly worse, the following day I flew to Scotland to get married, and the official pics supply all the evidence. Brackets, long divorce now, so less of an issue.
Oh dear.
Quentin, thank you very much. So David Beckham, the guard came off. He's got a clump out of his head. Jack from Knott said, I think I've had every David Beckham hairstyle over the years, but I am not going for the chunk missing look, he says. Talksport.com, text 81089, tweet TSH and J to get in touch. Our own Angelina Kelly has headed out in the closing stages of the Euros. She's been in the England camp. We'll be catching up with Angelina, building up to the game live on TalkSport tomorrow evening against Italy, the big semi-final. And Dale Vince joins us, Forest Green owner, telling us why he's put the club on prescription. We're here with Toolstation. You can download the Toolstation app for fast-track delivery on thousands of products. Next stop, Toolstation.
time for another summer of unforgettable moments.
Come on, England!
And England's title defence begins with a damaging defeat in Zurich.
Something has to happen. Serena themselves, they have to look at themselves, what went wrong, because they have to put it right.
It's tournament football, and I think you go through lots of highs and lows to get where you want to be in tournaments.
Two left-footed shots, it's 4! What a performance from England!
The response under pressure, which this England team always seemed to do, was magnificent.
Aggie Beaver-Jones with her first goal in a major tournament. 6-4 England. What a night for Serena Wiegman.
Really nice to see that we scored so many goals and that many different players score goals.
Mead is there and Jiman! 2-2! The Lionesses have come back from the dead. Holmberg, it's over! England are in the semi-final.
How they're still in these Euros, I have no idea.
Yep, that's the story so far. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, it's fair to say. But, you know, most teams that have ultimately gone on to win tournaments, it's never been plain sailing. So let's take some solace in that. Let's hear from
where you start, it's where you finish.
Indeed. I mean, as a really depressing sidebar is this story about Jess Carter and the racist abuse she's received on social media during the tournament. Lucy Bronze spoke about it ahead of that semi-final tomorrow night against Italy on talkSPORT.
The social media platforms need to be held accountable more so. We know that millions of people are interacting daily, but there can be more that can be done. People need to be held accountable for their actions, whether it's in person or online. The abuse is not okay, racism is not okay. I think more can be done and more should be done, and especially those individuals as well. I mean, they shouldn't be allowed to just sit at home, write whatever they want and just go on with their lives. They should be held accountable, and I think there's more that we can be done.
Yeah, we've been here so many times before, and that phrase about the social media companies being more accountable, it keeps coming up and nothing ultimately ever gets done. Let's cross to Switzerland now, to the game tomorrow evening, and Angelina Kelly is headed over there. Hi, Angelina.
Hi, guys, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. As we said, it's just an awful, depressing story, and it's such a great shame that Jess has had to put up with that nonsense since she's been out there.
100%, and you know, being a woman of colour, I completely empathise with what she's going through. And even being a woman of colour working in sport, I myself have had racist abuse online that has happened to me, and that's on a very, very minute scale in comparison to an England international. So I can only imagine what she's going through, and I think it's really brave for her to speak out about it. And you're right, you know, saying about the social media channels and things, you think these big operations, how do they not have a plan in place to tackle this? And I guess, you know, when things happen in the UK, you are able to report it to the police. I know myself, I've had to do that before. But when it's a worldwide situation and you've got people from potentially, you know, outside of the UK doing this, how exactly do you tackle it? And, you know, I know Lucy Bronze also spoke about players not maybe needing social media, but you know, you shouldn't have to not be on social media if that's something that you want to do, because you're fearful of race abuse in any sense, but racist abuse, it is absolutely awful. And you know, my heart really does go out to her, and like I say, I think it's really, really brave of her to speak out so openly and honestly about it.
Somebody made the point that if you put up a copyright of music, they take that down straight away.
Yeah.
If you make a racist comment, they don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting, that.
No, absolutely. Do you expect changes tomorrow night, Angelina? In football, we talk about substitutes. In other sports, they talk about replacements, and there seems to be a difference. And we saw the importance of the girls coming off the bench the other night. So do you imagine they'll change things up, or if they can with Leah Williamson, they'll play the same team that played in the last game?
Well, our own Adrian Durham was at training today, and he said that Leah Williamson did train. She didn't appear to have any strapping or anything on her ankle, so fingers crossed she will be okay to start. I think when you look at certain players like Lauren Hemp, I think in the last game they were able to really nullify her. So maybe do you look at switching somebody like Hemp out? Maybe Chloe Kelly, she can play across the front three, really. Would you put her in that position perhaps? You know, we've seen how brilliant Lauren James has been. We've seen how brilliant Alessia Russo's been. mean, but should Aggie Beaver-Jones maybe get a shout? I'm not too sure, but I think the main thing is we know that Sarina Wiegman does not really like to change too much. So I personally am not expecting any changes, but I think that if I was to look at anything, it would be maybe someone with the speed that Lauren Hemp possesses. If Italy are watching the other games and seeing how in that Sweden game they were able to kind of keep her a little bit quieter, maybe Sarina will want to switch that up perhaps, but like I say, you never know. More than likely she'll be sticking to the script.
Chloe Kenny was great when she came on, so maybe she deserves a start.
The Italians, watching him in the last game, they do have a sort of threat, don't they, from the wide areas. They were getting crosses in. The goal came from that sort of area. So we had issues there against Sweden, didn't we? So it's something we're going to have to cope with.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you look at that Italy team, I think in the group stage, they were against Spain. How do you beat Spain? That's the €1 million question, isn't it? But I think that, when they played Portugal, they probably should have got a win there and they got a draw. When you look at Italian football in general, the Serie A, the Women's League, only became professional in the 2022-23 season. So they're about 4 years behind the WSL in that sense. So I guess when you're looking at the players, don't get me wrong, they're absolutely talented and they deserve to be in this position in the tournament, but you would think that the quality that England have, they will be able to deal with some of their star players and some of those areas of the pitch that you did mention. And of course they have Cristina Guarelli, who is absolutely brilliant. She was the Serie A top scorer last season, expecting big things from her. She's 35 years of age. This will be a big night for her, but I think overall when you look at that Italy team player for player, you would like to think that England have got the talent.
We've seen the save of the tournament from Anne-Catherine Berger. Have you seen this? It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
the save she leaps backwards.
It's a really heavy deflection, and it's just clawing it. It was a bit David Seaman-like, wasn't it? The clawing action.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. One of the best saves that I've ever seen. And again, you talk about this Jess Carter situation. Anna-Catherine Berger is her partner, and it's really sad that Jess Carter's in a situation where, if anything, she should be celebrating that her partner has just made an absolutely world-class goal, an absolutely world-class save, sorry, and she's having to deal with this. But I thought it was brilliant. And you look at her story of, beating cancer. She scored a penalty at the Olympics. To see her do it again, I thought that was brilliant. And to, she missed out on the last Euro, so to be back and to have such an impact, was great. And I know that some of the France players said that Germany maybe didn't deserve to get through, but I think the fight that they showed, especially with 10 players, they really impressed me.
Just finally, you do Inside Devils for us. You're part of the team that bring us the Manchester United show at talkSPORT. Marcus Rashford's got his move to Barcelona. What do you make of that?
You know what, I'm going to have to eat my words because I actually scoffed at the idea of Marcus Rashford going to Barcelona, I'll be honest. But at the end of the day, we've all had our opinions on Marcus Rashford, but no Manchester United fan wanted it to end this way. Nobody wanted to see that player's talent, go to waste and for things to not click into place with Manchester United. So I think the move is the best thing for him. I think it's the best thing for the club. I think any true Manchester United fans will be wishing him well. They'll want to see him do well at Barcelona, and I think he's got a really good shot. Do I think he'll be starting week in, week out? Absolutely not. But, I've had to eat my words already. Maybe I'll have to eat them again. But I think overall, it's the right decision for Marcus Rashford. And I genuinely do wish him the best because you want your players to be playing well. And especially, no matter what happens, he was still a Manchester United player that did some amazing things on and off the pitch. He's a local lad. So you've got to hope that he can pull it out the bag and turn things around for himself.
Excellent. We'll catch you later in the week, Angelina. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Angelina Kelly there, head of England's semi-final against
Your words
Italy.
club.
Yeah, everybody has to. Everybody has to eat their words now and again, don't they?
Yeah.
So that game is live on the talkSPORT from Geneva. All the build-up from 7 o'clock and kick-off at 8. And, that's coming up tomorrow night. Should be a very exciting game. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. We get some great Clipper tales coming in, so we'll give you a few more of those. But Dale Vince is going to join us next, Forest Green Rovers owner. Tickets for their games available on prescription. It's a little initiative he has come up with a local doctor near the club, and he'll tell us more about that. And then we're going to look at some of the transfer stories of the day before we hand over to Adi Oladipo and Gabby Agbon-Lahore, who are bringing you Drive this afternoon.
So the Premier League champions' summer spend is now almost up to 300 million quid. Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 79 million for striker Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. Ekitike is due in the UK tomorrow for a medical. Liverpool are looking for a 6-year contract. Meanwhile, Ashley Young is off to Ipswich. Wage demands were too much for Watford, apparently. Neil Warnock told us even at 40, Young is a great get for Championship Ipswich.
To be fair, I think he's got better. He's been like a good bottle of wine, Ashley. I think he's got better defensively as he's got older.
To Rugby Union, where Steve Tandy has been named as the new Wales head coach. The former Neath and Ospreys flanker is leaving his role as Scotland's defence coach to sort out his home nation's woeful Test record. Tandy will be in charge of Wales until at least the 2027 World Cup in Australia, which is where the Lions are now. And late injury call-up Owen Farrell is in the team to face a Pacifica side tomorrow. Jamie George cannot wait to play with him again.
The bloke's rugby royalty. Like he goes down as one of the best ever, and this confirms that. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up putting his name in the hat for 5. The way he's going and the way he's looking, and he's been very, very impressive over the last week or so, and that competitive streak, but also physically he looks in really good way.
We've got live coverage of the British and Irish Lions versus First Nations and Pacifica on talkSPORT 2 tomorrow morning from 10 a.m.
Paul Hawksbee and Annie Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Now, football on prescription. The idea you can go to your docs and the doc may prescribe a couple of games of football for you. It's a lovely
very
thought.
Interesting idea, actually.
Yeah. It's only available currently in Gloucestershire, and that's courtesy of a local doctor there and our next guest, Forest Green Rovers owner Dale Vince. Hello, Dale.
Hi guys, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah. So give us a little bit of background to this idea and how it came about.
Yeah, it came about in a conversation between me and Simon Ofer. Actually, he's our local MP as well as being a GP and a football fan. And we were chatting one day at football about how nature gets prescribed for mental health issues. You know, it helps us reconnect with things and it can help people. And we had the idea between us, why not try it with football? And I think it's a great idea. I think, you know, you'll have experienced football. It's a very inclusive thing. When you go regularly to a game, you become part of something, part of a movement, part of a crowd, and, you know, you get great benefits from it. I think it could be the perfect thing to prescribe for people that have, you know, loneliness, isolation, mental health issues, better than drugs, I reckon.
There is a kind of loneliness epidemic, and, you know, people, because sometimes it's not a sort of a visible ailment, people don't realise just how bad it is, but the doctor in the piece I was reading today was just saying, you know, it's awful. It's as bad as smoking 20 cigarettes a day, really.
Blimey, that's a scary stat. Yeah. I mean, what I've read is that for under 50s, it's the biggest single cause of death, males under 50. That's suicide related to mental health issues, and it affects 3 times more blokes than women. And that's because blokes don't like to talk about their problems, right? And, you know, we're not expecting people to come to football and just start talking about their problems or anything like that. But to come to football and connect with people and be a part of something and have fun, you know, to get out, I think that's going to be really good for some people.
It's a good idea. And what's the reaction been to it? Has there been a take-up so far? When will it start?
There's been a brilliant reaction across the media today, I would say. We know that government are interested in it. We're hopeful, if it works well here, that it could even become something the NHS picks up and run nationally. We'll see about that. But it starts with the start of our season, which is not until around about mid-August for our first home game. So we haven't really got started yet. But we've created a prescription card. We've shared them with all of the GPs in Stroud District, and we've got the process ready for, you know, for them to start giving these out.
Is the idea to have a kind of section of, not a section of the crowd, but an area where maybe a lot of these people who are coming together, it's because they're all in the same boat? Because, I mean, you could plonk somebody in an existing family or a bunch of people that go to the game, and they may not interact as much. But I mean, you know, you understand what I mean? You don't want to ghettoise it, but by the same token, you want that kind of commonality, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think what we'll do is we'll take the time to meet the people that come here for the first time, come to Forest Green for the first time, and we'll try and find the right place for them, and maybe try and find some of our fans that are willing to take part in this and to reach out and welcome new people and sit with them. I think that'd be the right thing to do, because it could be a little bit daunting to go to a new football club for the first time. We've probably all experienced that, but we'll do what we can to make that go away.
So, I mean, what sort of numbers are we talking about? Do you know? Have you kind of set up a sort of limit on how many you can afford to do?
No, I haven't. I'd be happy. I'd be happy if we're inundated, actually. I mean, if the need is there, and it's in the hands of doctors, so, you know, it's not something that's going to be abused. If the need is there, we'll cater for it.
Yeah, it seems a great idea.
Could be great for the club too. Yeah, it's been really good.
Has anybody and any other clubs reached out so far? Have any other clubs been in touch?
Not yet, but the news only really broke today. And, you know, I do expect other clubs to be in touch, and we'd welcome that as well. We'll share our experiences and just encourage, you know, all clubs, all leagues up and down the country and up and down the leagues to take part in this. That's where we'll go. Once we've got some results in and something we can share, then we'll broadcast that and see if we can't get the wider world of football doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, well, good luck with it. It's a very, very good idea. Last time we spoke, Robbie Savage, you just appointed him. We've had a couple of pre-season friendlies. How's the relationship going so far, Dale?
You know what? It's fantastic. He's an awesome person, and his values and his approach to everything fits perfectly with mine and with the clubs. I honestly think that this is the beginning of a new era for Forest Green Rovers, and that we'll do well together. And I've said before, I don't care if we don't go up this season coming. That's not the aim. The aim for me right now, bring the fun back to the club, bring the fun back to the football, and let's see where we go with it.
Yeah, I mean, when you were in the league, how did you view the kind of the sort of one up automatically from the National League, and how do you view it now? It seems completely out of whack with the rest of the leagues. It does seem a bit unfair, really.
It is. It's a bottleneck, and I saw it from both sides in the same way. It's a bottleneck. You know, it supports teams that really should be relegated to reset themselves, and it prevents teams that really should be promoted to have that opportunity. There's no justification for it, and maybe it's something the new football regulator will take a look at. I would hope so.
When you go to National League board meetings, does it come up? I mean, and vice versa. When you go to league meetings, is it sort of, you know, why would turkeys vote for Christmas and all that?
Well, you know, that's got to be like the probable answer. I have to say, I don't go to any of those kinds of meetings. I got no experiences of that to share with you. Right. I don't go, but only because I'm not a meeting kind of person. Somebody from the club goes, but it's just not me.
Right. Okay. Well, look, good to talk to you, Dale. Best of luck with the initiative, and hopefully we'll talk again when it's up and running.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Pleasure talking.
There we are. There's Dale Vince, the owner of Forest Green Rovers. And, if you're in Gloucestershire and you go to your docks, you may get a ticket to Forest Green on prescription. It is a very good idea, isn't it?
It is a good idea.
I mean, as I say, I'm involved as a patron of Sporting Memories Network who work in this area and use sport as a chance to get people together, maybe depressed or lonely.
No, it's a good idea.
So it's a great thing, and it's a good, you know, you can find this whole network, this whole family of people you didn't know were out there, and this support group. So if you are offered the chance and you're a touch nervous about it, it sounds like Dale is trying to make it an easy process at Forest Green. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT, and Andy, just to let you know, of course, we're not that far off now of the return of football big time. I say the return of football, it hasn't actually stopped, has it?
Not really.
But the Women's Euros and the Club World Cup.
No. Tomorrow, oh no.
Have we got Champions League tomorrow?
Yeah, no, but I think the Sunday is the last game, the final of the Women's.
We may get a few days to take a few deep breaths. We got over 500 live football commentaries in the 25-26 season. And it starts on Friday the 1st of August. We get off the new EFL season with the opening game of the League One campaign. It's Luton Town versus Wimbledon. Hugh Woozencroft, host, Joe Shannon and Darren Ambrose are your commentary team. So, yeah, we kick it off August the 1st. Luton versus Wimbledon. Anything from your extensive list of bits you want to share with the class for a couple of minutes? I've got some haircuts.
Oh, yeah, go on then.
This is the David Beckham's taking a chunk out of his hair. He's got a great big dent in his hair because the clipper guard came off. Mine is a lockdown hair story. We were going to my uncle's funeral and needed to get a haircut. My girlfriend was doing it on a video call to her mum, who used to be a hairdresser. She was like talking her through it. But things were going too slow and I was getting irritated. I decided I could go upstairs and finish off the haircut in the mirror. Just like David Beckham, I had a clipper guard mistake and ended up with a Bermuda Triangle of bald patches on my head. I still remember it like it was yesterday. In the morning of my uncle's funeral, my poor mum, who was saying goodbye to her brother, colouring in my scalp with black mascara to hide all the bald patches. So there we are. These clipper things, they're quite common, aren't they, really, by the sound of it, Andy?
Well, it's easy to happen. That's why it's easy to get it wrong. Brian Linford has written to the Star.
Your mate from the Star, yeah. No, he writes
this is the shortest letter he's ever written.
He writes in block capitals when he wants to shout to accentuate it, and they're all stream of consciousness with no punctuation.
For some reason, he's writing about Joey Barton. He says, Joey's rap sheet is bar non.
Bar non?
Bar non.
What does that mean?
I had no idea. Football /magistrates /Wimbledon, a 20-minute sub, England 2007.
That's a code of some kind. That's a code.
That's it. That's the letter.
It's a brilliant letter.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to be talking transfers next. Ben Jacobs joins us. Don't forget, at 4 o'clock, Adiola Depot and Gabby Agbonlahor are going to join you for Drive. We're here with Toolstation. Get thousands of products delivered to you with Fast Track on the Toolstation app. Next stop, Toolstation. Now, Coldplay are back at Wembley this summer, and we've got a huge VIP prize up for grabs for one lucky listener. We're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets and a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd with full hospitality, plus we're chucking in 10 grand spending money, completely tax-free. Here's how to enter. I'll do the first bit, and it's massively long for you.
No.
For a chance to win, text the word WIN to 88838. That's 88838 by 4th of August at 11 p.m, and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Here we go, Andy.
Yes, and you must have the bill payer's permission. Or post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August, 18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion. What's going on? Run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
I did love the random 18 plus you just shouted there, but there we are. So anyway, let's look at some of the transfer stories of the day.
I did a Brian Linford, really.
You did, yeah. We're Ben Jacobs. Good afternoon, Ben.
Good afternoon, gents. How are you?
Not so bad. When do we expect the white smoke to appear at Anfield for Ekitike? Is it sometime this week?
Yeah, it should be. So he's flying in for a Tuesday medical. That's the anticipated plan ahead of making a £69 million plus 10 million in add-ons move. And then he'll be straight on a plane pretty much in the latter half of the week for Liverpool's tour of Asia. Maybe a bit too soon for him to play in the game on Saturday, but we'll have to wait and see. Agreement in principle in place. It's a 6-year deal, so Liverpool have got one of their top targets. They had seen him as a leading contender even before approaching Newcastle for Alexander Isak. And now we have to wait and see whether the unthinkable could happen, and it might be Ekitike and Isak. There'll obviously have to be an outgoing, maybe 2, if that's the case. So Darwin Núñez is expected to leave, possibly Luis Diaz Bayern expected to make a second bid there. And then it all depends what Liverpool are looking for. Maybe another centre forward, possibly more a winger. This is where the links with Rodrigo and Anthony Gordon come in. But Liverpool are not done yet. And in addition to probably adding another attacker, another centre-back likely to come through the door. But Ekitike is pretty much a done deal, assuming that the medical and formalities all go according to plan.
This story about Gyökeres and Manchester United, I mean, there was just something about, although Mikel Arteta wouldn't be drawn on it, he had this grin on his face that basically said, we've got our man.
Yeah,
so he didn't seem at all vexed by it. So what is going on there? Where did this suddenly come from?
Yeah, I think the Manchester United links come from Ruben Amorim and the fact that they appreciate the player, but also that Sporting and Arsenal are in final negotiations. It was final at the weekend and just final a week ago. Now it's final times 3. And they're quabbling over about 2.5 million euros in bonuses and how they're activated. And Arsenal are also trying to get the fixed fee paid in 4 instalments. So talks are advanced to full agreement. Could come at any point, and of course it helps Sporting to therefore say there might be a hijack, but I don't think Arsenal fell for it, and I'm still expecting Gyökeres to be an Arsenal player sooner rather than later.
It's really interesting, Eddie Howe talking today, being very upfront about losing Paul Mitchell, making his recruitment head, making his summer much busier, the frustration of not being able to get the business done early, which he wanted to do. And now it looks like they could miss out. I've been looking at James Trafford, but it looks like he could be going back to City.
Yeah, Manchester City are certainly interested. I'm not sure they're going to activate the £40 million buyback clause, possibly looking for a deal between 30 and 35 million. It remains to be seen whether Burnley go that low, because Newcastle have tried around the 30 million mark and have failed to agree a fee with Burnley, both now and also in January as well. And therefore, we have to understand whether Burnley are going to drop the price. And if not, Man City are prepared to walk away. But as you say, it's been difficult for Newcastle. I think some of that is a backhanded compliment because they're competing for elite targets against big 6 clubs or European giants. Whereas maybe when this ownership first took over and they were second bottom in the Premier League, they had quite a lot of flex and muscle for some of the targets that they were trying to get. But now virtually every Newcastle target seems to have a big 6 team chasing after them. Hugo Ekitike, they withdrew before Liverpool have finalised that deal. We know that they were in advanced talks for João Pedro even before Chelsea came to the table. They tried for Liam Delap. The Blues also won that race too. And it might seem doom and gloom, therefore, but I don't think this is about players not wanting to come to Newcastle or being sold on the project. I think it's the cold, hard reality of the financials. And Newcastle, until they get Champions League football back-to-back seasons, can't do what an Arsenal or even a Chelsea who have missed out in seasons gone by, but obviously bring in a lot of other income. They can't break their wage structure. So you're dealing with a situation where any other rival can come in and say 150k, perfectly fine. You're one of our top 10 earners, 250k, maybe on merit, whereas Newcastle's highest earners are nowhere near that number. And therefore, financially, at the moment anyway, because of PSR and a lack of consistent Champions League football, Newcastle are losing out on many targets. But they have got Elanga through the door. And I still think come the end of the window, Newcastle will feel relatively productive in the business that they've got done.
A lot of business to be done. Burnley need to be careful, though. You can sell your goalkeeper, then, fine, you get 40 million, but you've got to find somebody else.
Yeah, I think that was always likely to happen this summer, wasn't it? What's going on with Morgan Gibbs-White? I mean, he turned out for Forest the other day. I understand he's not gone on the tour with them, but that's for another matter. It's not football related. So where are we at with that, Ben?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a admission due to personal reasons which have remained private, and Nottingham Forest sources have stressed that it's got nothing to do with a Spurs transfer being imminent. Tottenham is still waiting because this threat of legal action hasn't happened. And my understanding is if it doesn't happen, Tottenham will counter with their own legal paperwork and say the clause is valid. You're obligated to sell us the player. And all of this clarity and movement is expected in the next week. So either Forest are going to take their legal action and then we wait and see if Tottenham back off or counter, or alternatively, Forest are going to do nothing other than make legal threats. And then Tottenham are not going to wait much longer. They're going to counter and see whether they can just stress the validity of the clause and try and get the deal over the line. The limbo period has allowed Nottingham Forest to explore other options, potential replacements. Leicester's Bilal Al-Thanous is one option. And at the same time, they're using this limbo to say to Gibbs-White, if you want to end all of this, you can sign a new deal. And this happened with Michael Olise and Chelsea the year before Olise joined Bayern Munich, where Chelsea thought they'd triggered the clause. Palace said it's not done in the right manner. Chelsea did decide to back off, and then Olise signed a new contract and left in 12 months' time. So Forest are hoping that precedence repeats itself. But Spurs are still quite confident they can get this over the line. And I think once another few days or maybe a week passes, if the Forest threat of taking legal action or a Premier League investigation doesn't materialise, then Tottenham will legally insist the clause is valid to try and get this deal over the line.
Just final one. At the start of the window, all the talk was about Eze and Gay, and subsequently, there's no talk at all. It's gone very quiet. There's some talk of Liverpool and Gay. They could go back in for him, but how should Palace...
Palace haven't sold anybody, have they?
Well, Wharton as well, but the word is that Wharton's going to stay for another year, definitely.
Yeah, I think you're right on Wharton. I think with the other two, it's just tactics within the window. Palace's position, particularly with Eberechi Eze, is they want the £60 million plus 8 million in add-ons release clause. And if Arsenal are to bid, which is still possible, then they'll feel later in the window that price may drop a little bit, whereas maybe now it's release clause or nothing. The other factor is that Crystal Palace have been dealing with this potential demotion to the Europa Conference League subject to a CAS appeal. If their Conference League compared to Europa League, does that actually allow suitors to take advantage of the less financially lucrative package and try and get a different kind of deal? That may be a factor. Some don't want to bug Crystal Palace, who have been in New York taking these kind of emergency meetings to figure out their CAS appeal. So timing is everything with Eze. With Gay, it's a slightly different scenario. Palace want to sell now. They know he's not going to sign a new contract. They don't want to lose him on a free. But Palace's asking price as of now is £45 to £50 million. Liverpool, I'm told, won't bid for Mark Gahey unless that price drops significantly south of the 45 million number. And I think it's just a little bit of cat and mouse at the moment, because Palace will start sweating if the window starts to shut, knowing they may get nothing for Gahey, and that's when maybe the price will drop. So it wouldn't surprise me if Gahey ends up being a late July, early August kind of deal rather than today or tomorrow. But Liverpool could still be there.
Ben, thank you as always.
Thanks, Ben.
Cheers, guys.
Ben Jacobs with the latest on the transfer market. There's a lot more transfer chat.
Lots of poker to be played yet.
There certainly is. We've got our live blog at talksport.com. And, of course, we have our own dedicated show. Flex and Rory Jennings with you from 7 o'clock tonight, right through until 10, with the Transfer Insiders exploring those deals we were just discussing and a whole bunch of others as well. But for now, that is us. I believe Big Sam Allardyce joins us tomorrow to give us his considered take on his new mural.
Really good.
Which features him eating a big bag of chips.
Fair enough.
So that's all to come. I'll see you on Wednesday, Andy.
Yeah, lovely.
Charlie alongside me tomorrow. Until then, have a fine evening and stick around for Adi Oladipo and Gabby Agbon-Lahore with Drive.